Well, welcome to a show that tonight we're calling Stage Fright. It seems that every theatre around the world has a story, and you're at the present moment just listening to the culmination of Andrew Lloyd Webber's incredible Phantom of the Opera, performed by a beefy band by the name of Nightwish. And yet, maybe it starts here, because the Phantom of the Opera, was it based on a true story? Everybody remembers the ancient movie that came out starring Frederick March, and I think Lon Chaney did it later on. And yet the theatre play was based on a real story, and it was told by a journalist in France called Gaston Leroux. He discovered that at the Opera Garnier in Paris, which is a beautiful ancient old building, that it has underground tunnels. It also has an underground lake. As you'll remember on that time that I walked you beneath Paris, there's an alternative city under there where all kinds of things have happened. The incident where the chandelier fell did occur at the Opera Garnier, setting the building on fire and also killing a hapless woman in the audience. Leroux used the falling chandelier in his story as a distraction so the Phantom could kidnap Christine. But the romance between the Phantom and Christine is just fantasy. The Phantom based the story on a man named Eric, who was born in a small village in Normandy near Rouen. He was born with a disfigured face, so his parents abandoned him when he was only 8 years of age, and a circus took him on, and for 7 years people gawped at him in horror to see the mess of a face that he had, bless him. He escaped when he was taking part in the circus in Persia and worked as an entertainer for the Shah. Then an architect came by, returned him to France. But in Paris, he was so impressed with the Garnier Opera House, he was signed up as one of the contractors that would build the extension on it. And he worked 12 hours a day until the Opera Garnier stood as magnificently as it does today. If you ever walk down the Champs-Élysées, you will see this amazing building, and on each corner there's golden chariots with the gods riding the chariots up the Champs-Élysées. Like the story of the Phantom, Eric had his own personal Box 5 at the Opera House. He even hollowed out a column next to it where he could come and go and sit into the seat anytime he liked without being seen by the audience. And Eric fell in love with a singer who performed there, but he got himself rejected. So he kidnapped the singer after an evening performance. She was found 3 weeks later, refusing to talk about what had happened to her, and afterwards she left Paris. Well, after this, the legend spread that Eric was so heartbroken, he walled himself up to that apartment beneath the Opera House and died of starvation. Years later, when the new Opera Bastille was built, this small apartment was discovered by workmen who found a skeleton wearing Eric's gold ring. It's said that Leroux used this legend about the real Eric to inspire this amazing story. So when you talk about theatres being haunted, I think you'll understand there's damn good reason in most cases. Now, one of the most beautiful and historic playhouses anywhere in Britain, let alone the glory that is the North East, is Darlington Civic Theatre, an Edwardian building which is just absolutely gorgeous. It is, of course, to be the Darlington Hippodrome of all things. And yet, if we're not going to miss that out, we've got to go to the man behind all he surveys, house manager Andrew Hutchinson. Hello, Andrew.
Oh, hello there. How are you doing?
Good, man. We just want to find out this theatre, and we're told that when people do a little bit of work and move stuff about, it can disturb the more spiritual guests that you've got there. You've got quite a few little spooky stories based at the Civic.
We certainly do. Derek Okora, who of course was renowned for everything most haunted in his day, listed our theatre as one of the top 100 most haunted buildings in the country. So we are up there with a lot of places, and we do have a lot of residents that do frequent our building on the other side of things. So.
Do we know who these people are then?
Yes, so we have got a number of stories and experiences that have been shared by our staff, by theatre companies and by audiences, and they build up our as part of our rich heritage. So we share these stories, and we even take audiences around on scheduled ghost tours as well.
That's fantastic.
So we like to share our stories with the customers.
Wonderful. So who's the most famous ghost you've got down there?
One of them is one that's central to our whole story of our theatre, which is Signorino Pepe, who was the theatre's first managing director.
Wow.
He was an Italian gentleman. He was born in Florence to a rich family of merchants, but he took against his family trade and took to the stage. He became a quick change artist and an impersonator, even very successful. He played for Queen Victoria in her castle in Florence. She presented him with a diamond tie-pin, so she must have been amused by his act. So a very, very talented gentleman, but also he decided after a very successful career in quick change that he would become a theatre director. So he built his own little empire of venues across the country.
So how did he die, and or why is he still at Darlington Civic?
Well, he was the director, and it was then the new Hippodrome and Palace of Varieties when he opened it in 1907, and the 2nd of September, and it was a music hall venue, and he did have other venues in Middlesbrough, Bishop Auckland, and Shildon, and he also had venues in Blackpool and Barrow-in-Furness. But through circumstances and with the rise of cinema, a lot of these venues did close down, and he was left with his beloved Hippodrome as his one last venue. And he was such a hard-working gent that he had in Darlington Civic Theatre, he had his own little apartment built within the walls, so he could work all night and get up early in the morning, so it was a special place to him.
So this was basically his chosen home, presumably. How did he die? Did he die a natural death?
No, he didn't. He actually, unfortunately, it's quite a tragic story. It's very theatrical and tragic, as it does fit well with it.
It fits, absolutely.
Yes, his greatest achievement was to book the prima ballerina Anna Pavlova. And she was due to perform a flying matinee on the 17th of November 1927. But unfortunately, the very same day that Anna Pavlova performed on our stage, Pepe actually died the same day.
What?
So he never got to see his greatest achievement perform. So he was laid dying at his home as she was performing the Dying Swan. Very apt.
How amazing! But I mean, that's impossible. You know, his greatest achievement, and he dies on the day that it occurred.
He died the very same day. So unfortunately, that has led to our our story that it gets passed down, that Pepe is still residing in the building to see his prima ballerina dance again in the building. So
I mean, that's a better story than the Phantom of the Opera, though, isn't it? But it is, isn't it? Because it's real. I gather you've got another ghost there of somebody who was a bit of an escapologist. Because I've heard there's Darlington, you're gonna have to ask him about Jimmy the Flyman. Who was Jimmy the Flyman?
Jimmy the Flyman. So back in in the early days, Peppy would use sailors to work on the fly floors of the building. So that is the area so that any piece of scenery or lighting bars would be flown in via ropes onto the stage. And he used sailors because they were akin and very comfortable with working with ropes in their everyday job. Sure. So Jimmy the Flyman was believed to be one of the gents that worked for Peppy, and he was, bless him, he had believed to have a tragic ending of taking his own life by using one of the ropes to hang himself. But yes, again, another tragic story that comes with the theatre. But we've had endless, as we do with a lot of haunted buildings and theatres, we've had endless psychics and mediums that have gone round and explored. And they all pick up this gentleman, Jimmy, and they say that he likes to watch over the technicians of how they work. But he doesn't want to make them uncomfortable. He's just curious, so he just likes to make sure they're working to a good standard. But yes, he has been, many a technician has felt his presence or heard his footsteps come up the ladders. So yes, he is about making sure they're doing the jobs properly up there. So yeah, a lot of the ghosts like to make sure that everything's still running okay, I think.
They're positive, helpful kind of characters.
Definitely.
The only person that's ever phoned me to mention something was a lady who was watching one of the Christmas shows that you'd put on. This is years ago. Yeah. And she said that suddenly everybody screamed, and we all thought it was part of the performance, because there was a woman at the side of the stage who suddenly disappeared. Now, what's the story about a woman? Because I've not heard of any woman mentioned.
Again, this is, with all our stories, things that have been passed on, and this has come from, mainly from the theatre companies, who've described a woman standing at the side of the stage, dressed almost like a ballerina, and who is almost ready to go onto stage. And some audience members have claimed they've seen an additional character walk onto stage that didn't seem to fit with the rest of the piece. Even an understudy who was sat in the audience watching a performance and saw an actress come on, stop, stare at a grave, which was part of the set, and then walk back off again. And she was most miffed that she wasn't actually supposed to play that role herself. So she made a point of talking to her manager to say, who's filling my role, and who is she, this mysterious woman? So yes, we call her the lady of the stage. So it's characters that pop up now and again to have to keep an eye, or maybe have visited in their time and did enjoy their experience, or repeating their experience again.
Just once, let me back on that, because it's a great stage. I mean, with the tiers that you have there, it's a beautiful, beautiful building. How's the improvements and all of the work going on? Are you nearly there?
We are very much to schedule. The construction company Wilmot Dixon are on site, and we should be on target to reopen in autumn of this year, so about November time. Brilliant. And we will reopen under part of our old name, so Darnton Hippodrome, ready to welcome audiences back into improved facilities and the restored beauty which they've come to know and loved about our theatre.
It is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen.
Thank you, you're very kind.
But what about you and the rest of the team? You've got the doorman, you've got the people that sell stuff in there. Over the years, what have you guys actually seen yourselves?
Well, a lot of us have had interesting experiences, and one of our favourite ones that we like to talk about is that Peppy had a Pekingese dog, we believe to be a Pekingese dog, but from this apartment which are described, that was just next to the dress circle box. He was known to appear by way of screen into the box and watch over the performance, and him and his wife would often be seen with a little Pekingese dog underneath one of their arms. And when they did a refurbishment back in the late 80s, early 90s, they discovered within the walls wrapped up in fabric, the bones of a little dog.
Wow.
So more often seen by children, but also seen by members of our staff.
Yeah.
The little dog has been spotted to have a presence as well. More, as I said, more so to children.
Right.
One in particular was when there used to be a bar at the back of the stalls, going back a little bit further.
Yeah.
A child was bought a Coke, and the mother passed it to the child, and quite presently the child dropped it, and the mother, of course, chastised him and said, why did you drop it? I've just bought that Coke for you. And he said, oh, the little dog, he jumped up, he made me drop it. So the usher interjected and said, well, actually, he was just, a little dog was found within the walls just round here, so don't shout at him too much. So yes, the little dog does have a presence within our theatre story, and
how amazing! I mean, these are all just great, and the thought of presumably Peppy thinking the dog loved watching. Yeah. All of this so much, we've got to leave him here too.
He's an important part of my building, so I want him to. We don't know the dog's name. we just know that he was left within the fabric of the building to carry on being part of it forever.
Fantastic. Well, the Hippodrome's going to be a part of the North forever as well. It's already got a fantastic history, and we can't wait to come down and see you guys. And as soon as it's done, we will be down to do precisely that. Bless your heart.
Thank you very much for that, and we look forward to welcoming you back.
Great. That is the glory that is Teesside. You never guess where we're going next. We're heading up the northern seaboard to Blythe.
Hurry into home base.
So tonight we are looking at, literally, stage fright. We're looking right the way around all of the leading theatres, nationally and internationally, because the one thing that many theatres seem to have in common is a ghost. Now, you could say, they just put that on to add just a little bit of flavour to a place, and yet the people we've spoken to are absolutely sincere, and in some cases, entire audiences have seen something on stage that they couldn't explain. Well, one place we had to go to is, of course, Phoenix Theatre in Blythe. We got the theatre manager, Richie, with us at the moment. Richie Ross. Hi, Richie.
Hi, Alan. How are you doing, my friend?
Good. Excellent to talk to you. The Phoenix Theatre, a classic. It's been there forever, and it's got a million stories. What's the tale that you've got from your place? I mean, what's the ghost story?
Well, we celebrated 50 years a couple of years ago now, so we've been a part of the community for quite a long time. And, of course, it's always a case that theatres and places of entertainment are where people get a great sense of joy and fun from. So it's only obvious that when they pass over, they go back to places where they were happiest. And certainly with community theatres like ours, which has been run by people from the community and volunteers for many, many years, we've had a few occurrences going on. And quite recently, actually, not so long ago, just after Panto, we were looking at one night and there were a few knocks. Now, you can normally expect that when buildings are cooling down, when you've had a packed house, there'll be some noises and stuff. Yeah. But, we're so used to it now that quite often we go in and call out and we'll ask if there's any spirits in the building, can you give us a sound? And you'll get 3 or 4 knocks, and then you'll say, can you repeat that, please? And you'll get the same knocks again.
That's wild. That is good.
So it's not really as if the building's cooling down, because you'll get a reaction to specific questions.
Sure.
And I'd only just started at the theatre a couple of years back now, when I was in the building on my own in the afternoon, and there was nobody else there, just me, and I was just coming down from between the dressing rooms, and I heard this lady's voice going, hello, hello. And because I shouted out, hello, and I was like, I'm in the building on my own here. So I looked up really quickly and sort of legged it out and put the shutter down and scarpered, thinking that was a bit weird. That. And anyway, that night I happened to go back to work, and I was talking to one of the board members, and I told them what had happened. And he went, oh, that's Auntie Jean. She always comes back and says hello to new people just to make check you out and make sure you're all right.
So who was Auntie Jean?
Auntie Jean was a member of the Panto Society many years ago, and used to sort of do background stuff, look after the teas and the coffees and this sort of stuff.
Do the sewing and fix the rips, that kind of thing.
Anybody new comes into the building, she always just comes and says hello and then goes again. But we've had a couple of groups come in and do ghost hunts over the years since I've been there.
Right. Right.
It's weird because you get people that pick up on the same sort of entity, the same energy in the same area. Like, for instance, everybody always picks up on quite an angry presence stage right in the wings, waiting to go onto the stage, and there's quite a malevolent spirit of a man that's quite angry.
Right.
So we've had 2 or 3 people over the years that have picked up on the same sort of sense of energy in the stage.
Is there any stories of actors from back in the day that were of that sort?
No, well, the trouble is people come and go, and the trouble with stories is they kind of get a bit exaggerated over the years, so you're never quite sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, but I mean, even not so long ago, the last 3 weeks, I was under the stage again in the building on my own, and you very often hear footsteps going above your head.
Right.
And again, and you know, and it's going from one side of the stage to the other. So it's not somebody else in the building because I was there on my own, and it's not the building cooling down because the heating have been off, and you quite often hear stuff like that, and it's quite often you hear sort of knocks and bangs and it's, like I say, especially when you recall it, if you shout out and you ask for a reaction and you get the same sound, that's the interesting bit.
No, has members of the public ever come forward and said, "I've heard this, I've seen that"? Do you ever get?
No, we did the Pitman Painters last year, and our stage manager was at the front desk, and above the stage there's obviously sort of metalwork gantries that lead to the grid over the auditorium,
right.
And he heard footsteps above his head, and he said to our lighting guy that was at the back of the auditorium, "Did you just hear some footsteps?" And he said, "Yeah, I heard that." You could hear it over the sort of cans, the communications there between the two of them.
Right.
And the lighting director said, "Who's that standing up in the doorway? There's a doorway up in the rafters that goes backstage to the auditorium," and he could see the outline of a figure standing there.
Wow.
And there was nobody there because the show was on and everybody was accounted for. So there's nobody from the auditorium has ever said anything. But when we've done ghost hunts in the past, we've had people that have come in and said, you know, they've sensed presence, especially dressing room 2. Dressing room is always a good one for a bit of freakiness. Nobody really likes dressing room 2. Now, and again, under the stage, we've got a cold spot.
All right.
In the back corridor where you walk along it, and there's a real cold area that you walk past, and it just doesn't feel very good. But mostly, I think it's people coming back that have been involved in the theatre because that's where they spent a lot of their time. You know, especially if they were volunteering there and they were happy there, and that's why they come back to say hello.
Sure, and I mean the Auntie Jean thing. It is commonplace. It quite often they were always an older lady, maybe attached to a dance company for little kids, who would come along and support the costumes and fix them all up, make the cup of tea, and
we've had seats that have tipped up. You know, when we've done sort of midnight vigils and stuff, we've had seats that have tipped up on their own.
Right.
That's a bit that freaks me out when something physical happens. But you get knocks and bangs all the time in there. And like I said, the footsteps over the stage is a really weird one as well.
Yeah, but isn't it strange that the groups coming in seem to think there's something malevolent on the far right of the stage, and yet the rest of the things that you've had there seem to be done out of love, kind of. I just want to stay here again with you guys.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, when the theatre started off, it was very much community-based, and over the years, as we've progressed on and become a bit more commercial in terms of bringing in commercial productions, that community element of you know, doing 3 or 4 plays a year has kind of drifted away a bit.
Right.
So the business has kind of evolved over the years,
sure.
But I think maybe those people that were involved with the theatre, you know, sort of 30, 40 years ago, it's a different entity now than it was then, and that's why they come back.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really interesting, and like I say, especially when you're locking up at night, some parts of it you tend to walk through quite quickly and lock the doors and then get out of it as soon as you can.
Well, that's wonderful. Richie Ross, theatre manager, Phoenix Theatre in Bly. Lovely talking to you. Thanks for spending some time.
My friend, you take care. Bye.
Now, the Sunderland Empire is known for a number of ghostly apparitions that people have seen, and yet the one story that we can't avoid was the death on stage of one of the greatest comedy actors that Britain ever created. From all of those carry-on films, Sid James. From the Sunderland Empire, Melvin James remembers that day as if it was yesterday.
Everything happened so quickly that night. It was the first night of the show. 10 minutes into the show, somebody said to me, something's wrong with Sid. I looked through a crack in the scenery because it was a box set. I knew there was something wrong then. I had to get the house tabs in. I dropped the house tabs in, and I don't know how I done it, but I was still the first one to him, and I knew there was nothing I could do for the man. A bit of training that I'd had in the forces with first aid and whatnot. I knew there was nothing, and I went straight out to the tabs and asked, is there a doctor in the house? Of course, what did happen? I got the biggest laugh of the night, but I kept on, and a doctor actually did come forward, and his words were, I don't know if I've been had or what. And I said no, and he came on. Ambulance were there by then. And he told the ambulance people he was taking him. But unfortunately, about an hour later, we were told that Sir James had passed away. And then, first night, no understudy. That set actually stood on the stage until the Friday. And it was just horrible walking on the stage. It was so quiet. It was just like walking through a chapel of rest.
I think everybody on earth's had a try of Sid James' laugh over the years. He was the only one, but you knew it was him every time you heard him kind of go. What a superstar he was. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going even further north in our patch to the magnificence that is Edinburgh. Festival Theatre in Edinburgh, one of the places that everybody knows when they get up to the capital of Scotland, a place that's had so many stars, celebrities and shows of all different kinds. And the man, the power behind the throne is Graham Simpson. He's there in Edinburgh for us right now. Hello, Graham.
Hello and welcome to you, Alan.
Well, bless you. Thank you for talking to us.
You're welcome.
We've been centering on, everybody knows that pretty much every theatre seems to have a ghost. It seems the Festival Theatre is one of the many.
Well, yes, it's probably the most, I would say, famous story about a ghost in the country that no one knows about, probably. It concerns a man called Lafayette.
Right.
He was born Sigmund Nuremberg in 1871. He was a German Jew, and he was he was the world's highest paid entertainer at the time. He could earn £40,000 a year, which is incredible if you think about that now.
Absolutely.
And he worked all over the world, and he moved to America and then London. He was sort of known for his quick change acts.
Right.
He had bookings 10 years in advance and a team of 40 assistants. Amazing.
Wow.
Sort of like Liberace of his day. Or for people who probably don't remember Liberace, maybe Lady Gaga, outrageous outfit.
Right, absolutely.
A huge entourage. He dressed over the top, lots of rings, had lots of limousines. He had a 2-week engagement up at the Festival Theatre, so the theatre was absolutely thrilled to get this man because they could guarantee the seats were all sold, you see. And he, as everyone did who was very famous then, they checked into the Caledonian Hotel, which is just at the end of Princes Street. Everybody who was anyone would check into that hotel because the train came straight into the hotel and people didn't get seen. You weren't worried about paparazzi and stuff like that. So when he came up, he had his own room. He had his own room for his dog. Now, he had this dog, which was called Beauty, and it was a gift from everyone will have heard of this man, Houdini. And this dog he absolutely adored. He gave it a gold-studded collar with diamonds encrusted on it. And in the hotel, he had his own furniture, and the dog had its own furniture. Even on the coach coming up, he had his own furniture on the coach, and the dog had its own furniture. It ate the same meals as him, 5-course meals. Anyway, when he was coming up to the theatre, I mean, this story could go on forever, but I'll try and cut it short. He, as I say, was engaged for 2 weeks. Tragedy happened almost as soon as he arrived. His dog, his beautiful dog Beauty, died and it died of apoplexy.
Oh, no.
And if anyone knows what apoplexy is, it's basically eating all the wrong food. You don't really feed your dog what we eat. So basically its internal organs sort of burst, really. So he was absolutely inconsolable and wasn't going to go on to the stage. So they persuaded him, please, you have to go onto the stage because we've sold out. So the only way he could go on stage was to make sure that his dog was buried. So he wanted his dog buried in a cemetery with him. Now, of course, as I'm sure you know, that animals and humans don't go in together. But he was insisted that this would happen.
Right.
So eventually he got the dog, managed to phone around various places and got some undertaker who said, okay, in Pierce Hill Cemetery, that they would allow this dog to go in with him as long as it was embalmed.
Right.
So they got the dog stuffed at Sergeant Hall, which is directly opposite the Festival Theatre, and with agreement that when he died, he would go in with the dog. His ashes would be put in between the dog's paws and would put in a cemetery. So Pierce Hill agreed that would happen. So that was the sort of background before the show started. The show at the Festival Theatre was called The Lion's Bride. Now, this show involved lots of... it was very spectacular. We had fire eaters, jugglers, contortionists, and it would all build up to this big finale. And the finale was, it was a sort of Maharaja set.
Right.
And this Maharaja wanted another concubine for his harem. And if this woman didn't become a concubine, she would get thrown into the lion's cage. Now, on stage, there was this huge set with billowing drapes and a real lion in a cage at the back. And the illusion was that the Maharaja would throw the girl, the damsel in distress, as it were, into the harem. The lion would pounce on top of the girl, and the skin would peel off, and it would reveal Lafayette. An amazing trick.
Right.
Now, Lafayette, he was an illusionist. It was mostly done by stunt doubles.
Right.
But this particular story was that you would see Lafayette on horseback. He loved his animals, obviously, because he adored his dog Beauty. And he would appear on horseback and save the damsel in distress. And all of a sudden, he would disappear from the horse, and all of a sudden he came out. The skin would fall from the lion, and it was the great Lafayette.
Right.
Huge applause. I mean, he did lots of these tricks where he would be on stage, you would see him on his horse, and all of a sudden the spotlight would go to the trumpeter, and it was Lafayette.
Right.
So he could be anywhere at any time.
Yeah.
So that was the premise.
It sounds a fascinating character, though, for the time, because we seem to think that the only time we ever had over-the-top superstars is now, and yet they've always been there. Now, I'm presuming this is at the Old Empire Theatre, because that's the ground that the Festival Theatre is built on. That's
correct. It was one of the old Empire theatres. It was a beautiful, beautiful theatre. Designed by Matcham, and Matcham theatres are all over the world, a lot in London. We have a Lyceum theatre that's still a Matcham theatre, beautifully decorated. Yeah. But at that time, the theatre in our site was becoming far too small, and they needed to redevelop it. So it's redeveloped now to a 1920s interior, 1920s, 30s. It's beautiful. I mean, the outside is all glass. It's a fabulous looking thing. Yeah, what they did was they cut off the front of the theatre because they never really owned all the land there. Right. And it's only recently that we were able to acquire the land and then built for the first time a wonderful frontage to the theatre. It never ever had that. It had a department store on one side and shops on the other. Right. That's. But again, is the ghost there Lafayette then? Well, yes. So to continue the story, right? He appeared. The lion's skin came off, and he appeared. Great applause. But because the stage was full of billowing drapes and lamps, and it was sort of cushions all over the floor, slaves fanning people and everyone, one of the lights broke free from its mooring and smashed to the floor. And of course it was real fire then, and set the stage on fire. And it didn't take long for it to consume everything that was on stage. So everyone sort of panicked. The audience thought this was part of the show, and they were applauding and standing and thinking, oh, wow, this is amazing. Eventually, the band struck up God Save the King, and the audience realised, this is not meant to happen. Luckily, they managed to get all the audience out. There was no one killed at all. But the stage itself, the backstage area collapsed. They put in the safety curtain, and it got stuck halfway, which caused a backdraft, which fueled the flames. There was about 40 people that died, 10 performers, backstage crew, musicians. It was just awful. Lafayette himself ran off, presumed that he was fine. Everyone saw him outside, but had gone back on stage to try and save his horse. When he went back on stage to save his horse, the floor of the stage collapsed, and Lafayette fell down under the stage, which was devastating. There was 2 children that were killed as well. So all these people died, and a huge funeral was planned for Lafayette. But more exciting, amazing things happened. They found all the bodies, and Lafayette himself's body was identified by his costume, and a huge funeral was planned in Edinburgh. I mean, it was the biggest funeral ever. If you see pictures of it, if you're ever at the theatre, there's pictures of it. Princess Street is absolutely mobbed with people. I mean, more than the Queen or the Pope has ever had. So this funeral was planned, and isn't that funny? You know, almost 2 days earlier, his dog had died, and he had arranged his own funeral, and he was dead himself, which was just bizarre.
It is.
But that wasn't the end of the disappearing act. I mean, he was known as an illusionist. About 4 days after all of that happened, they discovered another body in the theatre and realised that the body that they thought was Lafayette had sent to the crematorium. There was no crematorium in Edinburgh at that time. They had to go to Glasgow. They realised that the body that they had just recently discovered, and the funeral was the next morning, was one of the stunt doubles. It was the trumpeter. So they had to quickly rush this correct body to Glasgow, get the people out of their bed in Glasgow to stoke up the furnace to cremate the correct body so that they could put the ashes in along with the dog for the funeral. So, as known for his disappearing acts in life, he was also in death, you see, known for his disappearing acts. It's all an incredible story and should be made into a film.
It absolutely should. I mean, how soon after his passing did people see him around the old empire then?
Well, there's been various stories from various people. Cleaners have seen him. Technicians have seen him. Recently, we had a sort of spiritualist. Well, we had a celebration to mark his death. I mean, he died in 1911. So in 2011, we had a magic show. Paul Daniels starred in that. And sadly, he's not here anymore. And various spiritualists were invited, and they could feel and sense areas around the theatre. Various people, I think there was a prostitute mentioned because they could smell perfume who had fallen from a box, apparently. Lafayette himself is seen in the upper circle. There is I know, like Phantom of the Opera, they have a box. Well, it's not so glamorous in the Festival Theatre. We have just an ordinary chair that the public sit in, but it's the only one that's covered in red velvet. The rest is a sort of pinky colour. And that's where he's been seen throughout the years by various different people.
Well, the poshest box, only the best for Lafayette?
Well, he hasn't got a posh box, he's just got a seat. So it's the one that's a different colour. I have never seen him. I worked there for 23 years now, and I have never seen him, much as I would love to see him.
No, for sure. Ever felt anything weird? Ever had a bit of a scare late at night?
Well, sometimes when it's dark and I'm going through the theatre and maybe the lights have gone off and I'm locking up, yes, you can feel various vibes here and there. I don't know, are you a big ghost hunter yourself?
I didn't believe for most of my life, and then I saw something I couldn't explain, and I've been kind of hooked ever since.
Right.
It's very strange. But it just seems the stories that the theatres have, each one could be an award-winning movie because the stories are so fascinating.
Well, this one I would love someone to make into a movie. I mean, we've got all the documents, all the newspaper articles about the subject, and it's incredible to read all about it. And, I mean, this story has so many twists and turns. I mean, even the fact that, well, for instance, he was born a German Jew, and, of course, the Jewish, they couldn't get someone to do the funeral because they didn't want an animal
of course
mixed with a human, because they're considered unclean, so there was spectacle there.
Right.
So there was lots and lots of twists in the story.
Amazing. But what a fantastic tale. Thank you so much for sharing it with us.
You're most welcome.
It's been a tremendous and again a big surprise, because you expect, oh well, there's the spirit of a woman rustling in her long petticoats along there, but when you hear a story that's as thorough as that, and I mean, what an amazing story for the whole thing to be based on. So thank you so much for your time.
Most welcome, Alan.
So we'll be back in a few seconds. Keep it with us. Alan Robson with you. Stage Fright we're doing tonight. And we said we were going to head down to London, and we have a superb actor who you've seen on television. Imagine you're in shows like Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. What a thing. The Phantom of the Opera, A Midsummer Night's Dream, The Taming of the Shrew. Always side by side by Sondheim. My goodness. Stop that. Dive into Oklahoma, or back to Macbeth, or As You Like It, Henry V, A Little Night Music, The Rocky Horror Show. On TV, pop into EastEnders, Beyond Dalziel and Pasco. And also, if you're lucky enough, just slide into the Da Vinci Code movie at the same time. We have an actor, singer, and theatre legend. His name is Clive Carter. Hello, Clive.
Wow, hello, that's quite an introduction there, Alan.
Follow that. You've got to live up to it now, though, Clive. That's the deal. I mean, you've had, what an amazing, I mean, you bounced out of one job into another, which is an actor's dream.
Yeah, it is. I've been very lucky. I mean, it helps because I've been around since 1840, or it certainly feels like it. But, no, it's been a joy. It's been quite a trip, quite a ride, I have to say. And I'm touching wood here, and long may it keep going.
No, for sure, but it's an awful long way from Les Miserables to Frankenfurter in the Rocky Horror.
Just a bit. You don't wear the same outfit for starters, that's for sure.
And then beyond that, of course, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and this is where your story really begins, because you were the very first Mr. Salt in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory musical at Drury Lane, and I gather it was at Drury Lane where something peculiar occurred.
Well, first of all, Drury Lane is the epitome of theatre. I mean, it's where every actor anywhere in the world wants to play. Sure. I mean, it's the oldest working theatre in the world. There's been one there since something like 1460, and there are bits of the old theatre still there, all the original theatres. Yeah. It's a huge theatre, and there's a lot the audience don't see, obviously, because and you can do tours there, but there's parts of the old building. It's an extraordinary building, and it's a fantastic place to work. But it does have slightly odd things happening. I mean, let me say at the outset, it's not that I believe in ghosts or anything like that at all. I am a superstitious actor, but
sure.
That's just because actors are superstitious. But I'm not a great, oh gosh, believe in ghosts or anything like that. But there were a few things that happened there that made you sit up and think, oh, hello, sorry.
So what happened to you then? I mean, when did you first become aware, because obviously you don't go looking for them because you're not particularly a believer, so when did they make themselves known to you?
I suppose the first time was we'd moved into the theatre, and I moved into my dressing rooms, and over stage left is where whatever happens, that's where it's supposed to happen. Right. And my dressing room was on the stage left. I come out of the stage door, and my dressing room was on the left-hand side, and it's got a staircase. You open the door, go down the staircase, and then there's rooms, and that's where my rooms were.
Gotcha.
And so we'd moved in, I suppose we'd been there about a month, I suppose. and I was in my rooms with a fellow actor, and we were chatting away, and we happened to be talking about the theatre ghosts there.
Right.
And I had a television which the theatre had provided for me, but didn't have the remote control, so I got one of those adapters which has its own remote control.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Gotcha, yeah.
So I connected one of those, and that was fine, and I had the television on, and we were talking away, and then we happened to start talking about the ghost. Or ghosts, whatever, and the television changed channel. Now, that doesn't mean anything really, but the only problem with how it changed the channel was by a remote that doesn't exist, because it didn't change it on my little box. It changed it on the television itself, which has no remote.
Right.
So it was okay, so I had to unplug the whole thing and reset the whole room, and that's fine. And we carried on, we were chatting away. I didn't think anything at the time. And then we started talking about the ghost again, and the same thing happened. And then you start thinking, okay, maybe there's something in it. So we reset it up again, and on purpose we said, right, let's just talk about anything else, which we did start with, and then let's start talking about. And as soon as we started talking about the ghost, it happened again. So it's right, let's stop talking about the ghost. So that was the first incident.
I mean, when something like that happens, do you have a look and ask around and see what the real stories of the theatre are? I mean, are there any people we should know who are supposed to be haunting there?
There's quite a few there. There's I can't remember Baldy, who there's always a smell of lavender. That's a giveaway. If you start smelling lavender, you know that one of the ghosts is close by.
Right.
There's the obligatory grey lady.
Right.
But the person who was involved in my one, I don't know. I mean, there was an incident, for instance, with the Oompa Loompas had a very quick change at one point, and their shoes are specifically made for them.
Yes.
And they were all lined up, again on stage left.
Right.
And they'd had a problem with, they come to do a quick change, and somebody's messed about with their shoes, and they're all over the place. So an announcement was made over the tannoy, can you stop doing that, please? Because it's a very quick change, and they don't have time to mess about. So fine, there was no problem. And it happened again. And understandably, the company manager was getting fed up with it.
Yeah.
So they ended up having a stage management, one of the team, standing by the shoes to stop who's ever messing about them. Right. And there was somebody literally standing there, and the shoes were all lined up as they should be, and he turned away, and he turned back, and they'd all been changed, literally in a split second.
And there couldn't have been time for somebody to get in there and give them a shake.
No. In fact, what they ended up doing, they then moved the shoes and set them over the other side of the stage, the other side of the wings.
Wow.
Because of that. But nobody thinks anything of it. You just think, okay, it's just one of those things that happens. Just one of those things.
And I gather Nigel Planer, who worked alongside you in Charlie the Chocolate Factory, he didn't used to believe either, but he had a few things happen too.
I think, well, we'd spoken about this. Yeah. And in fact, Nigel was the one I was talking to in my dressing room.
Oh, right.
So we'd had a few. I mean, there was there was two more things that happened in my room, actually. One was when I wasn't there, I had a picture on the wall, funnily enough, of Captain Hot's Tin Roof.
Right.
But it was of the original, but in Japan. It was a Japanese.
Right, oh, lovely. Yeah.
And it was in a lovely frame, a metal frame. And then one evening I had off, my understudy was sitting down, and he phoned me up and said, look, just to warn you, the picture fell off the wall. I'm really sorry, the glass broke. He said, I've left it. I said, no, don't worry, I'll sort it out when I get to the theatre. I got to the theatre, and health and safety say you're not allowed to touch it.
Right.
So I phoned up, and some of the crew came down to remove the glass, and it was fine, never thought anything of it. And they said, what happened? I said, it's just fallen off, come off the hook, it's fallen down. And it was one of these frames that, it's a solid frame, and there's no string or anything like that, it's actually part of the bar, and you have to lift it off. You can't, it doesn't fall, you have to lift it up and off to get it off the hook.
Right. And
I said, it's obviously the hook's come down. Anyway, the crew stood there, and he went, no, there's the hook. And it was still there, it was in exactly the same place, the hook hadn't moved. And my face, certainly, Ross didn't move it at all. He didn't lift it. He was just sitting there. And so for that to come off, it had to come up.
Up and out.
Down.
Right, yeah.
So that was another kind of unexplained. And the weirdest one, one of the weirdest ones, I'm a person who likes everything in its place.
Yeah.
Everything has to be done a certain way.
Yeah, me too.
And I have a Bluetooth. For my phone, I have a Bluetooth. I always use a Bluetooth.
Right.
And I always used to put the Bluetooth in a specific place. Always. And one day I couldn't find it. It wasn't there. I looked, couldn't find it, and I thought, it's ridiculous. I checked the pockets, checked everything. My dresser came down, and I said, do you know where I put it? He said, it's where you normally go. It's not there. So we both searched. And then he went off, and he went, hang on a minute. And he went up the stairs, because it's a staircase. And he's gone up the staircase. He said, "Well, hang on, you know what you've got to do?" And I said, "What?" Because he'd worked in the theatre a lot of time, long time before I'd been there as well. He said, "You have to ask." I said, "Oh, what do you mean you have to ask?" He said, "Well, you have to ask, say, can you please put it back?" I said, "Who will ask? Who will I say?" He said, "No, you just have to say it in the dressing room." So I said, "Okay, it's a bit weird, but okay." So I said, "Okay, could you please put the Bluetooth back?" And I turned around, we went down the stairs again, looked around the corner, and it was there. Now, I know for a fact that he hadn't placed it there, because it wasn't there. When we left, it wasn't there. But we left, we went up the staircase, and literally within 20 seconds, 10 seconds of saying that, I came down, and it was exactly where it would be.
That's weird. That is weird.
That was an odd one. So that was a 3 strange... But, it's one of those things, it doesn't spook you. I mean, the feeling in the dressing room was always a warm feeling. Always.
Right.
And I'm one of these weird guys who does certain things, and I've always said good night to the dressing room.
Right.
When I leave, I say thank you and good night. And it's one of those things, because don't forget that those dressing rooms are so old, like the theatre, and the amount of people, actors that have gone through that theatre, the legends that have gone through that theatre, and that building kind of holds all those memories, all that it's extraordinary when you think about it.
Right, no, for sure. I gather they've found some human remains in there.
Down the bottom, yeah.
During restorations. What was that all about?
Well, that I'm not sure about. But they have. I think it's one of these things that you can go as a member of the public. You can go on a tour.
Yeah.
But when you cross from one side of the stage to the other, you have to go under the stage, and there's a certain bit that goes very low, and in the area where the theatre was originating, and that's where they were doing some excavation, and that's where they discovered some bones and some artifacts.
Wow.
And in fact, they're down there. They've actually put them in glass cases now.
Right.
So as you go down, and that's where, apparently along that corridor, which a lot of people won't go. A lot of people will not walk along that corridor, because it does... It's very spooky down there, and if you are susceptible to being scared, then that is not a place to go.
That's the place. I mean, because you're in a long line of very famous people that have seen stuff there. Because we remember back in the late noughties, Patrick Stewart said clearly that he'd seen the previous manager of the theatre, John Baldwin Buxton.
Yeah.
And he said that he saw him clearly on the stage. And then, as soon as he said that, Judi Dench says, "Oh, yeah, I've seen him." And Donaldson, and, "Oh, yeah. I mean, to get people of that quality saying that it's that clear, I mean, wow, what more do you want?
Well, we can't all be nuts.
And no, this is it's a fascinating... The whole thing is a strange and weird experience, and yet... as you say, it goes back to the very beginnings of theatre, doesn't it, I suppose, that building?
It does. But because the ghosts have always been associated with theatre. If you go all around... I mean, look at theatres like the Theatre Royal York.
Yes.
I mean, there's so many stories about that building.
Absolutely, yes.
Which I could go on about. I mean, there's just... All these theatres there's so much history in these buildings.
And also life and death. People have died at performances. Actors have died on stage, sadly, on occasions, or behind stage. And I do think that sometimes the things that happen in life can stay in a place maybe a little bit.
I think there's something to that. I mean, as I say, I'm not a great believer in the idea of ghosts, but I think along those thoughts, that there's so much energy that has gone into those buildings. They have to absorb it somehow.
Right. The various curses that we talk about, and the sky, I'm not going to name the Scottish play, and all of this. I mean, are they for real, or are they like self-fulfilling prophecies? You say it knowing that you shouldn't say it, and then whenever anything bad happens, that's because I named the Scottish play. I mean, what's your view on all of those things?
Well, the practicality of you can take Macbeth because you're not in the theatre. It's fine to talk about. Or backstage. I think you have to look at the reason for that. I mean, what normally happens the reason why the whole thing about Macbeth, I think, is because at the end of Macbeth, when there's the sword fight, Macduff has been off stage for a long time. The guy playing Macbeth has been on for so long, and there's been a long, long gap. So one's full of energy and one's very tired.
Sure.
And and that's where accidents can happen. And I think kind of that's where that story came from, originated years and years and years ago.
Right.
And it's one of those. I mean, I don't. To be honest with you, I don't mention Macbeth when I'm in the theatre. I don't mention it because why tempt Providence? It may be a load of hogwash, but why tempt it? Why tempt Providence?
No, absolutely. I've seen people who are not superstitious not walk under a ladder because, well, why would you? You could accidents happen. It's not because I'm superstitious. I'm just not tempting Providence, as you quite rightly say. Thanks, Clive. That was great. And we have another glory slightly further south of our patch. That is the one that we know as York. And we've got Kaylee Wishart there, who is the Visitor Services Manager. Hello.
Hello there.
Hello. Now, York Theatre has an amazing history with some incredible things that have happened over the years. You're there. What's it like? I mean, what stories have you heard?
So I've been here a long time and was very sceptical about it to begin with.
Right.
And we have a very famous ghost here at the theatre. She's called the Grey Lady. And she's supposed to be the ghost of a nun who worked in the hospital, a medieval hospital that was on this site before the theatre.
Wow.
And according to the story, she had an affair with a townsman and became pregnant, which of course was against her vows.
Sure.
And a common punishment in medieval times was to be immured, which means to be sealed in a cell and left to die.
Right.
According to the legend, that's what happened to her. It's been said that there have been skeletal remains that were found on site. I mean, most of which in recent times have been animal bones, but there has been human remains found here a long, long time ago. So whether it's true or whether it's a legend, I don't know. But lots of people that I know have had strange experiences, and I've heard things that I can't quite explain.
Right. I mean, it's good to hear from a skeptic that you coming in on it, kind of poo-pooing the whole thing.
Yeah.
What's the most vivid thing that's happened with you then, Kaylee?
Years ago, I was locking up the front of house areas, and we have a tannoy system that we use to make announcements and play music through. And I was locking up on this one occasion, and there was only myself and the stage doorkeeper here. At the time, all of the public had gone and all of the other staff, and the tannoy system crackled into life and started playing music that was not in the CD player. And Brian and I, the stage doorkeeper, we nearly wet ourselves, to be honest, because we couldn't explain it.
That's
and
amazing.
Then there's been strange sounds that a few of us have heard, like a sort of dragging sound that comes from the stage area. It sounds like something heavy's been dragged along the stage. But it's a strange place to work.
I mean, York, obviously, with the history around the place that goes back to, I mean, capital city of ye olde England, of Viking England, in fact. I mean, you've got an amazing history around the place.
Yeah.
Have the audience ever come forward and said that they have experienced something?
There was. I remember, again, a couple of years ago, there was a gentleman who came in, and he asked if he could use the gents. So he'd just come in off the street and came out of the gents white as a sheet, and he thought he'd seen a lady, a sort of figure that came into the room and disappeared, and he was quite freaked out about that. And we don't talk about it a great deal to our visitors, because we don't want to look like we're raving mad or indeed, frighten people. But yeah, some people have seen things, and like actors, they've often sort of reported bizarre things happening in dressing rooms. And during a rehearsal, there's a famous account of there were several of them on stage during a rehearsal, and they saw, again, it was a female figure in the dress circle. And similarly, the cleaners once saw this same figure in the dress circle early one morning and thought it was another cleaner that had just started and made her a cup of tea. So she's quite a solid kind of figure. It's not a hazy thing,
No, but you have yet to have that.
I've not actually seen her, but I've heard things, peculiar things that I can't explain.
Right.
I've seen a shadowy figure near the stage on one occasion, but it's not. Most of the time, it's not frightening or alarming. It's kind of a nice kind of reassuring presence.
We seem to be finding this from theatres across the country that because people enjoy their time at the theatre,
yeah,
they're prone to want to come back. And we've heard of dressers that have returned, and people that have worked in the wings, or the actor who had their greatest moment there. It's strange, because I say York Theatre goes back, is it middle 1700s, I'm guessing?
Yeah, it's 1744 the theatre was built. Yeah, so it's an old building, and it's got lots of. I mean, although the theatre was built in 1744, as I say, there's medieval remains. We've got a medieval well beneath the stage,
right,
and part of the hospital, which was 12th century, is still kind of part of the building that was built around. So it's a bit like a patchwork quilt of different time periods that's just been kind of encapsulated in the newer parts of the building, if that makes sense.
No, it's amazing. And if you think about it, York, the city that it is, with the history of the place, I don't think there's a century gone by in the past where York hasn't been the centre part of something going on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I suppose it's understandable that a building that stood there for the test of time, literally, should have something like that. Amazing.
So many layers of history.
No, for sure. But Kayleigh, bless your heart, thank you very much for taking some time.
That's okay.
And we're trying to be as thorough as we possibly can whilst talking about the great theatres. And we can't miss out Newcastle's very own Theatre Royal. A little while back, I sent one of our news team, Anna Thompson, to check it out.
Well, Alan, I'm standing here in the gallery of the Theatre Royal. Everything very still here after tonight's performance, all seeming quite weird, in fact, when no one's on the stage and all the audience has, in fact, gone. But with me is Greg Miller from the theatre, and it is quite eerie here on a night, isn't it?
It's really eerie, especially when we turn all the lights off. And because obviously there's no windows, you can't see your hand in front of your face. And it's really, really quite nervy.
Now, some people that have worked here have seen your very own ghost called the Grey Lady. What have they experienced?
It's more about feelings and hearing things than sightings. Our cleaners quite regularly on a morning come to do the gallery area of seating and find one particular seat on the front row down, like that. But it can't be done because we have sprung seats that flip back, and apparently there's always a smell of roses around where the Grey Lady's been.
How did it come about that she haunted here?
It's from the 1880s. There was a performance by Carl Rosa Opera, who are still around now, and they were doing a Gilbert and Sullivan Pirates of Penzance. We know this because there are press cuttings that do exist. And there was a wardrobe mistress who fell head over heels in love with the lead man. And they were here for 4 or 5 weeks, and he promised to marry her and elope with her, and final performance came, and he basically said no, go away, and she was absolutely heartbroken. And this is where the story splits into two. Some people say that she was up in the front of the gallery, kind of completely heartbroken and delirious, and she was reaching out to touch him as he was on stage during the performance, and she overbalanced and fell all the way down into the stalls and broke her neck. And the other side of the story is not that she fell, but that she threw herself hurtling into the stalls with the same outcome.
It is a very long way down there, isn't it?
It's a very, very long way down. We're actually sitting now at the edge of the gallery, and I get very nervous just looking over.
Tell me about the door scenario as well. What's been happening with the doors?
Oh, the doors. Well, because we have our telephone booking office upstairs behind where people sit in the gallery, obviously that was never there when there was no telephones in the 1880s, and so the ghost does haunt this kind of space, and we have people going backwards and forwards now where we never used to have. So in the past 10 or 20 years there's been lots of stories about staff who have just gone through a door, felt there was somebody behind them, and then the door slams behind them, and when they try and go back through it, the door is stuck. It's as if there's somebody on the other side holding the handle shut so they can't get through. And they could be trying for a minute or so, and then for no reason the door just opens and there's nobody on the other side.
It all sounds very, very scary, I have to say. But you've experienced it yourself, haven't you?
I have once. She's also reputed to smash wine glasses. And about 10 years ago, I had a completely different job here. I used to work behind the bar when I was a student. And I was behind the bar in the gallery. And it was after the show had finished. There was nobody around. And behind the bar, lots of people who work in bars will know, but right on the ground shelf, we kept the wine glasses so that there was no distance for the wine glasses to fall, so they couldn't break. And I was washing up glasses, and I suddenly heard this wine glass smash, and I turned round, and the glass had just smashed to smithereens completely, and it could only have fell like a couple of millimetres onto the floor, so somebody would have had to have just really hurled it at the floor for it to smash.
Do you think she could be around tonight?
I think she could well be. It always is when this musical's on. I don't know. We never know when she's going to appear.
Okay, I think in that case, Greg, we ought to get out of here quite quickly, just in case. Thanks for speaking to us tonight. And it's Alan, back over to you.
Well, at the present moment, I'm lacing up my rather fine shoes. I have to say, I've got a nice pair on today because I'm going to put them to some use next.
On a first-choice holiday,
The thing is, this is Stage Fright. You're going to have to bear with me. There's going to be a little bit of noise. Let me just take my headphones off, and put my hat on, and a little jacket that I'm wearing like a... Sorry, that's my gilet, just because it's not quite the warmest of the warm outside. I'm taking you for a walk. We don't do this often on Nightowls. Hang on, let me zip myself up. Not that zip. There you go. I'm in perfect shape. So, we're going to leave you behind as I take a walk out of the studio door here in Studio 1 at the radio station. Of course, we are the Giants, Metro Radio and TFM together. And we're walking through our office. If you've never been here before, huge orange pillars. We should have shot our decorator. We do have gorgeous walls over here where we've got pictures of the Transporter Bridge and the Tyne Bridge and Monkwearmouth Bridge. There's the transporter in the bird, and there's the big picture of the Sage transformed into a big radio. So we are out of the main body. Press the button for the lift. Oh, it's here already. That's good news. Now, you might be wondering what we're doing. We're going down. That's exactly what we're doing. Thank you very much for that. And we've got an awful lot to tell you on the way. Now, normally we'd have time to maybe put this in the can and get it ready for you. But tonight, of all nights, this is a very, very special evening. So let's promenade and see exactly what we get. This is the downstairs area. Quite busy this time of night, but we're going to crack on anyway because we are heading to the theatre. And you go through our Gigi automatic doors with the sound play to where it is busy. And cars whizzing around the roundabout, not too many of them. And even here, if you look across, you can see the Tyne Bridge, which is supposed to be haunted, because the main pillars of the bridge used to be places where prostitutes used to sell their wares, and all the people would come off the boats and go into these dark recesses that were around the base of the Tyne Bridge, and pimps would beat up and murder some of the women. Lights are on red. Let's get across where we can. And so there was many a murder done down there. Not just murders, of course, but rapes, and of course the difference between a prostitute getting paid or not paid, that's rape. And of course a lot of the merchants of the city used to use these girls, and occasionally if one of them said they were pregnant, or if one of them said, oh well, I'm going to tell your wife, automatically that woman would be found dead somewhere. We've just reached Dean Street. For those of you that know Dean Street, down the bottom of here is you just can't see it from the top, but if you walk down about 200 yards you'll see the Dog Leap Stairs. The greatest love story from Tyneside, of course, is Bessie Surtees, who fell in love with a man that her father deemed unworthy, a guy called John Scott. And he brought his horse up to the window of what is the Red House down there, and she climbed out the window onto the back and rode up the dog leap stairs. And they call it the dog leap stairs because the father set the dogs on them, and they still managed to get to the top and escape. And there's a boat on the Tyne that travels up and down called the Bessie Surtees in her honour, passing the little Teesside news shop, and then Nadon Thai, which is a hell of a restaurant, and Flair's on the opposite side. Some DJs have died in there, but I don't think they haunt the place. And some light it off. First mortgage, and you come to Newcastle Cathedral. Well, the cathedral's famous because during one of the big attacks by the Scots on Newcastle city centre, the Lowlanders came and they tried to get across the river down where the swing bridge is, because that was the nearest point of crossing. They managed to get to the other side, but they couldn't get in Newcastle city walls. So what the guy who was in charge, the man in charge of Newcastle at the time, was the man whose school I went to, a man called John Marley. And he decided that the thing he was going to do was put all the lowland Scottish prisoners in the bottom of Newcastle Cathedral, which at this time of night, nearly died. Put it in the bottom of the cathedral building, and right in the bottom of the cathedral they allowed them to starve to death. They said they weren't going to feed them. They only put them in there to try and stop the Scots bombarding the building with cannon to try and preserve it, and they did a pretty good job of it. The other thing though was that they captured a load of Novocastrians, the Newcastle lads. A whole group of them had tried to get out of the city, and they got captured, and the Scots took their heads off and fired them over the top of the castle wall, and they slammed through the stained glass windows of the cathedral, landing at the feet of the priests of the day. So as you can see, hang on a second. Woo! On the other side of the road we haven't mentioned the big market, and of course the big market's synonymous with partying hard and what have you. And over there, a very famous ghost story about the Scottish soldier. It was a guy called MacDonald. He went down the big market, because even then there were taverns and coach houses and inns, and this guy started taking a mickey out of him, saying, he's just a woman, he's wearing a kilt, he shouldn't wear dresses, and the standard blah that Scotsmen get. And MacDonald didn't take it well, and essentially stuck a dirk from his sock through his eye and killed him. Now, MacDonald, the Scottish soldier who wandered far away, a lot of people believe that song, Scottish Soldier, was based around MacDonald. And they said that he was hanged 3 times but didn't die. It's a lovely romantic story, but the truth is a little bit more grisly than that, because they hanged him once and he didn't die. So a family member of one of the murdered man's family finished him off with a hammer. So it wasn't a nice way to go, but that's essentially what happened. Sorry if I'm puffing and panning, but we're going at quite a pace. We're now at the church at the bottom of Granger Street, and there's a lot of other ghostly stories around here. For example, back at the Castle Keep that's just behind me, that they used as a prison for a while, and they used it as a prison, but they didn't put food on the table for anybody. So you essentially had a prison completely full of starving people, and it was renowned for being a very, very vicious place indeed. So the main story from it, and the main ghost involved from the actual castle, Much of the castle's not there anymore, of course. There was an Irish girl called Brioni. She was 13 and a bit of a pixie, really. She loved to laugh, she loved to clot on and mess about. And one day, one of the leading merchants of the city got stung by a bee. The bee flew into his shirt and he did a little bit of a dance on the street to try and get rid of this bee. Brioni did nothing more than laughing, and the merchant said to the policeman, "Arrest her, take her to the castle. She's humiliated me." Well, she did what I think anybody at the time would have done. She had a laugh. You got to remember, back then, people were being put into prison for stealing handkerchiefs, for stealing bread, and trying to get across the bottom end of Westgate Road, where the Newcastle Arts Centre is, and the Hip Cat, and My Big Day Bridal Store. Got a season ticket for that. And passing the Black Swan and the Cape Gallery. So anyway, this Brioni girl, she was only 13, and she ends up in prison, but it wasn't segregated. All the men were in there with the women. So all of the women were gang raped pretty much every day, while the men had their health, and even when they didn't, they had all kinds of miseries to put up with. She eventually was raped to death and her body taken out, but she is said to still float around next to where the high-level bridge and the Bridge Hotel stands. She's said to be kind of hanging around that area. But with respect to that, we are very nearly there to the place we're bringing you. We've been doing theatres all night tonight. We've spoken to some amazing people, heard some fantastic stories, and yet the whole bottom end of what we're doing revolves around what some people say is one of the most haunted theatres in all of Britain. They've had stories of ghosts here for the length of time it's existed. 175 years. 150 years. No, edit, sorry. 150 years. And we're just approaching Tilly's Bar. And there it is. The Tide Theatre and Opera House. And we're going in there. Not just are we going in, we've also got some victims who are going to pop down to experience the incredible stories of the things that happened here at Town Theatre and Opera House. If you stop just before you get there, and you look to the right-hand side, past the Time News on the corner shop, you will see the old castle wall with some of the turrets still in place. Oh, there's huge lumps of wall missing. There's ghost stories of people who were stabbed on the outside of the castle wall just here, but also two other stories. One ghost was killed by falling, one person was killed here by falling masonry back in the early 1900s, just over the far side there. There's supposed to be a ghost story attached, not a lot of tales on the back of it. However, if you look up, you'll see a huge gap in the wall there. That used to be a gate in to the castle, and people would come down what's now Westgate Hill, remembering that it didn't have any buildings on it, it was just countryside, and they would turn along the little side road that's just at the top here and go directly into the main gate into the city. However, the story goes that they had a black portcullis, and it had just been installed. It was new, and everybody thought, oh, this will protect us even more so from people trying to get in. However, while they were looking at it and saying, how good we've done, we've spent a lot of money, but isn't it worth it, the portcullis rope snapped. Now usually it's held up by chains, it was just held up for show by rope, and the rope snap came down and killed one of the people that actually paid for it. His ghost is said to be heard screaming and howling as the portcullis literally cut him into two halves just up there, the gap in the wall. You can see it. However, let's get cracking. Here it is. We're at the Town Theatre. The next thing you hear will be me hopefully meeting the people inside who I'm hoping are waiting here to see me. Let's see if we can find out. And the door's shut, but we will get in. Join me in 2 minutes. We'll be inside the Town Theatre and Opera House. Here than a theatre late at night. This is the Town Theatre and Opera House. And they've got the little shop of horrors kicking, and through every door there's something that leads to this auditorium, the place where the magic is being made. Before we became a cinema briefly in the 60s and 70s, this was the Town Theatre. It was restored to its glory, and I do mean glory, when Placido Domingo came back to perform here on that stage there. Yet people died on stage here. They've seen ghosts and spirit children joining in with the entertainment. They've seen people sitting in seats that have disappeared while they've sat next to a member of the audience. And if you look up to the gods, this great birthday cake of a theatre with one of the greatest chandeliers that you've ever seen. Can't see it in the darkness, but what a place this is. And yet, just through the door to the right, there's a pathway down to a bar, an old bar. Let's see if we can get out there and head down to it. If any of you were alive in the 70s or 80s, you might remember that here at the Town Theatre and Opera House, they decided they were going to make their very own Greenwich Village, the place where Bob Dylan did all of his things. I'm not sure we can get through there. Going to have to come through the main door, I think, and around. Yeah, through here. And if you go down a few steps, this Greenwich Village idea, I think it's a great idea too. They made their very own bar. And although you can get the light from the street, down there is just pitch black. Let's put a light on so we don't kill ourselves. Bob Dylan on the walls, Robert Zimmerman, and a great talent. I was fortunate enough to host his gig at St James's Park. And if you come around, you got the most horrible toilets with spiders the size of your hand. That's the Zimmer man, and you got the Zimmer lady somewhere else. And in here, the remnants of an old bar, people's pints still on the bar, dirty glasses. We have a thing already there, a frequency machine that's just white noise. Will it pick anything up tonight? We've no idea. We've already had it on. We've heard a few little anomalies. And through here, seats and booths where people would sit and listen to extremely loud music. They're drinking up and walking the lame is for me to slide. All of the lyrics of Dylan's songs written on the ceiling too. And yet, this is a very different place when you switch the light out. And our people here will be in the pitch black. I mean, they're not going to be able to have any light on at all, which is why it's vitally important for their own health and safety for them to stay absolutely put. And then we go back through here and we're into the bar area again, where it's going to be our place of safety. At the other end, across the stage, you go down to the bowels of the theatre. The bowels meaning the Jewish cemetery that's down there, where they believe people were buried alive. It's through the doors at the bottom. Let's have a walk down there and we'll show you where it is. It's a fair walk, but it's worth setting this up for you so that you can get a feeling of what's going to happen when we get our victims into play. Got to watch your step. Theatres are, you would think, designed to be accessible, but this is a really old theatre. A lot of stuff on the floor, and they're always getting ready for their next performance as they head off to the next 150 years. Just thought I caught something out of the corner of my eye over here. just saw something dark, just looked like it moved. Then you come through here and you're in the understage, and this is, again, as we head underneath the graves, we're going down to that level right now, and it's through here. Now, it's through the wall at the far side that you can't see terribly well. You can go down this staircase here. It's very narrow. It's a fireman's ladder walk down. Once you get to the bottom of that, you go down another 15 to 20 feet. And the far wall is the retaining wall from the Jewish cemetery that has so many stories. There's other places where people have seen things. Again, you've got to be so careful, because some of the steps down are not great. There's a dark little cubby hole here. Don't know whether you can see it. We're going to put some people in there. Also, as we step down here, it's a rabbit warren. You come moving along here, and there's the old cellar. And once again, at the far end, here, this is the retaining wall directly through there. On the other side, and for hundreds and hundreds of feet, you've got the Jewish cemetery. So we're going to be putting some people in here, again with the lights out. Is the other one through there? No, that's not the right one. So easy to get lost and lose your bearings here. We move back up. And yes, it's along here. Yes, there you go. The cellars. And again, that wall at the far end that is completely loaded with bodies up against that retaining wall. It's an amazing place. You never know what you're going to get in a place like this. Fabulous. And again, when you turn and you just look back into the darkness, it's just quite something. How about that? Right. You think you could cope with this? I'd be surprised. Anyway, let's get back. Let's get back where our victims are due to join us any moment. So we best get back to meet them. Alan Robson with you, the Nightowls programme, of course, doing all the stuff that nobody does. And it is an absolute blast to be in places like this. So many ladders. I'm going to get lots of exercise tonight, but let's hope I'm running towards them, because they're screaming at me. Stage is this way. And then we're back out. There you go. Back into that place where we... This is where Bob Crowther died. Where the cannonball hit him on the head. All the things you never see when you visit one of Britain's most beautiful theatres. And that's it. That's our look around. Our victims are going to be coming soon. I'd better head in that direction now. Hope you've enjoyed it so far. Getting ready for their next performance. And we have Lindsay Teggett, who's in charge of all things marketing. And thank you very much, first of all, for inviting us down here to help celebrate 150 years of amazing stuff here.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Now, we're here, obviously, to put a couple of our victims in place to see if they can get anything. And yet, over the years, this has been classed as one of the most haunted places. You've got a whole list of staff members from the past that's witnessed stuff. What kind of stuff have they seen?
All sorts of stuff, from to actual seeing apparitions to noises and things breaking in front of them. I know one of our current staff who still works front of house saw a little boy on stage. It was during the panto a few years back, and she just assumed it was part of the cast.
Right.
But apparently it turned out there was no little boys actually in the performance, and she said he was wearing an old-fashioned dress, and so I think she was a little bit scared by that.
I think so. I mean, we've heard about a seat in the gods that always goes down, which is supposed to be Bob Crowther's seat, and Bob, of course, was the man that got hit by a cannonball of all things that was being used to recreate like thunder.
Yeah, he died on the stage, unfortunately, poor Bob, and he's still meant to be here. He's kind of the theatre's signature ghost, really, and he is meant to have a favourite seat up in the gods. And when you go up there, it is quite often down, and though the seats are all up, I don't know if maybe it's just a
dodgy seat.
But it's nice to think that he's hanging out up there, and he likes being here still.
Yeah, because I mean the thought of that was that keep a seat for Bob every night, because when Bob worked here as a technician, he used to love to come back and watch the performances once he'd set everything up.
Yeah, and there is a story about them putting an old mannequin in one of the seats as well, to keep it for the ghost. I assume it's Bob, just to stop the actors getting stage fright and from him frightening them. So
in case they looked up and they saw somebody moving up there, that would be the thing.
Yeah, I suppose so. But apparently the actual dummy itself ended up giving people a bit of a fright. Its head used to fall off and scare the stage school kids. So I'm sure there were some kids in the 70s that were traumatised by that dummy.
Sitting next to this guy, he's not saying anything, Mother. He's not saying anything. People have not been backwards at coming forwards. They've been telling you all of their stories, knowing that we were going to be coming to visit. Stories like what?
I know there was a guy who used to work here, who now lives in Canada, actually. He was locking up one night and his key got stuck in the door, and he heard a man's voice laugh and say, "Your key's stuck in the door, ha ha ha." And there was absolutely no one around. There was no one in the street, and he said he kind of, ran off pretty sharpish after that. A lot of it is the front of house staff. Obviously, they're here quite late, and when they're tidying up the areas, someone said they were up in the gods, and one of the lights on the wall just smashed by itself.
Whoa! Right. I mean, you mentioned things like full-bodied apparitions and what have you, and presumably whispers. We know of a few stories that could equate to. It could be the people we're talking about, scratching noises, knocking on walls, all this kind of stuff. And, I mean, usually if you go to a place still alive, you'll get one or two that have had experiences. Here at the theatre, there's about 30 people there that have all wanted to say, no, hang on, the thing that I saw was...
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of stories. Pretty much everyone who's worked here who's not completely skeptical will have a story to volunteer. Like you said, whether it is they've seen something, they've heard something. Apparently one of the things that signifies Bob's around is he smells cigar smoke. There's some office staff who've smelled that. I have had a few things happen, but I try to be logical about them. But I did once think I heard someone say hello when I was the only one in the building first thing on a morning.
Whoa.
Looking back,
when you were being logical about that, how can you be logical about there's nobody in the building?
Well, looking back, I just tried to think, was it just the creaky doors? It's an old building, but at the time I was so scared I did run up to the office and lock myself in. So at the time I was pretty convinced I heard something. So
with respect to saying that you stay here late at night, I would presume you've never been down beside the cemetery wall at night.
Absolutely not.
With no lights on?
No, absolutely not. No way.
Now, obviously, we've lost one of a person that I've known for 30, 40 years, Brendan Healy, recently as well. And this was one of his favourite places. And I gather somebody in one of his pantomimes said that they thought they'd got a wisp of him.
A few people have mentioned that they kind of think he's still around here, and he did love the place. I have heard people mention that I thought he was still in the theatre watching the pantomime.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Bren was so lost in the business. He's always going to be around, Brendan. We love him.
Yeah, and I mean, in the bistro bar, his portrait's hanging up, so he is watching over us anyway, so I like to think he's still here.
It'd be great if he pops in tonight just to say hi, because I think we all miss him. But thank you again, and I gather you're going to be joining in what we do. This is just something that happened. It's the spur of the moment. What's made you decide to have a look at your own building? This is you must be pretty sure there's stuff here.
I genuinely do think there is. I'm probably end up wondering what I've let myself in for, but it's just a bit of a personal challenge. I'd like to see if anything happens.
Well, we'd love it to. Let's hope that it does. Hey, now we're waiting for our listeners to get here, but we think we're in a theatre. We know why we're here. Richard's just bringing a gadget. Explain what that is, Richard.
A spectroscope, this one. It's great for dark places, because if that light dims, you've got a presence around you.
Lovely. Okay. Now, you're just telling me that down in the basement where the Jewish cemetery is, there's also an urn from somebody who just died, who wanted to be, if not scattered here, placed here. So they go down close to the cemetery, which is actually, I think, quite a cool thing. It's like there's a continuity there, which is actually quite nice. But you've got 3 dead people down there that are relatively new dead people.
Apparently there's 3 people's ashes down there, including someone who he was he a stage
manager, stage crew,
and he wanted to be part. Can I get shot of him? That's what you're telling me. So he's here forever. So if he would like to make an appearance, this is his moment. Down there, you've heard the story of people getting lost in there, trying to steal from the rich Jewish corpses. You're going down there now. How do you feel? This is lights out in the dark. What do you think?
I'm a little bit apprehensive now, but I might as well do it.
Well, let's make it happen. Come on, let's get through. Now, you got to remember, you got to go down 2 sets of those very, very narrow stairs. But we'll get you down there before we knock the lights completely off. You through? Yep. Right, okay. Yep. And we're trolling back along. Everything's a little way from our place of safety, but not too far away. Right, there you go. This one. Excellent. Right. Right. Okay, Lindsay?
I think so.
Down you go. Be really, really careful. Oh, Howard, you've got a mobile phone. Can we take your mobile phone from you? Because it'll just affect the microphone. You just want to knock it off. I know you're using it as a torch, but we'll get you. We'll get you down there.
There you go.
Richard, if you can see Lindsay down.
So if that...
And Lindsay, I'm going to give you the microphone. I'm just going to, while you're climbing down, I'm just going to leave it there. It will be on, and all you have to do when you want to talk to it is pick it up and talk into the ends, okay? Just hold it very lightly like that. But let it hang while you get down, because it's awkward.
I don't know whether to go down.
If you're going down the stairs, feel free to do that, but be very careful.
Oh, God, these are awkward.
Well, there's another sentence worse.
I know, I'm going to kind of scoop down on my bum a little bit.
It's all right, it's all good.
So is it right that if this light dims, something's here?
From it, just give you a little bit. Be careful, because it goes completely cracked and there's another set of stairs.
Oh, I can't see a thing.
Have you reached it?
Yeah. I'm nearly there. Right, I'm in the foundations now. I'm here.
I can see your light. Can you see us?
Just about.
Lovely. Head towards the wall and find a place where maybe you can sit or rest your bottom.
Oh God.
Right.
Are you leaving me now?
That is exactly the plan.
Are you turning the lights off as well?
Absolutely.
Crikey, what have I let myself in for here?
Good luck, remember, tell us what you feel, what you see, and also remember, use your peripheral vision at the same. You see dark things moving out of the corners of your eyes rather than the your full being. So just be aware of that. You see how light disappears.
You are going to come back and get me soon, right?
One of these days.
So the guys have just left, and I am in the very foundations of the building, in the dark, completely alone right now, and I'm beginning to wonder what on earth I've let myself in for, because this is very creepy and my heart's racing right now. Nothing's happening on the spectroscope yet. I'm just going to have a little walk and try not to fall over. Is there anybody down here with me right now? I'm trying to get used to the darkness. Is there anybody down here with me? If anyone would like to come and talk to me. I actually work in the theatre every day, and I do love this building, so if there's anyone who also loves the theatre would like to make themselves known. Just gonna perch myself on a bit of the really old foundation wall here. I have to admit I am shaking and I am really scared right now. Nothing seems to be happening so far though. I have been down here before, but obviously with people and the lights on, and I've never been down here alone. There's some noises coming from above, but I think that might just be the guys up on the stage. Is anybody up there? Kind of just heard a clanking noise, but again, it could be the guys moving about up there. Is there anybody down here with me? Again, I can hear clanking noises, but I think that might just be the guys upstairs because it can be a bit echoey. Is there anyone down here who would like to make themselves known? I can hear footsteps above me, but I think it's just really got a strong sense right now that there's kind of someone near me, and I'm really not liking it right now, and I am really wondering why I did this. Hello? I feel really on edge if I stay here. There's a lot of I don't know if hello? Yeah, this probably isn't the cleverest thing I've ever done, but hey-ho. Is there anyone here that would like to talk to me? I know there's a few people whose ashes are scattered down here, and you're here because you love the theatre. I'm here because I love the theatre, so if you would like to talk, can you say something now? Oh, I think I have, yep, I've just found a box of ashes in the wall, which it's a gentleman called Stephen Slim Palmer who used to work here and wanted his ashes here. So we never met. It's nice to meet you. It is a little bit creepy that I'm down in the foundations of the theatre and I'm talking to a box of ashes. But I think if Slim is here, I think he was a nice guy. I don't think he'd want to scare me. Kind of think I can see a little bit of movement in front of me. It's like a shadow moving a little bit. I feel like there's something around me. Is anybody there? I'm just going to move towards where I kind of thought I just saw a little tiny bit of movement. Hello? I am hearing some clicking and creaking, but I don't know whether it's just because it's a really old building. I think I'll be going soon, so if anyone wants to come and talk to me, that would be nice. Oh. I feel like I keep seeing something moving. Hello, is that someone there? There's still nothing happening with the spectroscope. It's not indicating that anything's near. Either way, it's not really the most pleasant place to be. Is anyone down here with me? Is that someone up there? I'm just gonna take a little seat again on this old wall next to these ashes. Oh, God! I mean, I've heard some creaks and some tapping, but I don't know whether it's just the building.
Like an old building.
Yeah, it's not the most pleasant feeling being down here alone, though. There's a certain area over here by this far wall, kind of has a bit of a different feel. I don't know, it just doesn't feel very nice in this corner.
Right.
But no, nothing showed up on the spectroscope, so...
Right, that's good. Can you give me out?
Can I come up now?
First one.
I've had enough now. I wouldn't like to spend the night down here, though, that's for sure. I did find the box of ashes, though, which was a little bit scary when I came across them. Whoop.
Well, there you are. I'm in the wrong place. Well done. That's good. Did you...
that wasn't too bad.
Did you talk? Yeah.
I did.
That's good, excellent.
Oh, yeah.
So there's nothing that I say on this. That's good. Well, that's the first part. There you go. So what were these noises? Just creaks and bangs?
Yeah, but I don't know whether it was you guys upstairs.
Well, mind you, I have to say I was sitting on that step there, and there's been nobody along here, and they're all in the lobby.
Really?
Absolutely. We'll go and have a look.
Are you sure no one walked across the stage at any point?
No. Well, if they did,
honestly,
I swear to you, there's no... Well, let's ask them, because they've all been together.
I could hear footsteps from above as if someone was walking on the stage, but I just assumed it was you guys moving about.
Well, I sat on the top of the stairs for the longest time doing nothing, and I didn't hear anybody behind me, but then again, there's like the roar of some kind of heater or ventilator unit.
No, that's a little bit scary, because I definitely could hear someone walking across the stage, but I just assumed it was you or Pete.
Well, hang on, let's see if Pete was Pete there.
Right, that's
I haven't got any control over.
That's kind of creeping me out a little bit now.
That's fine. Guys, did you or Pete or anybody here walk across the stage?
Well, no, we're all here.
Are you kidding me? No, are you kidding me?
No, well, everyone's having a smoke at the front, so we've been here.
Has anybody been in the auditorium at all?
No, I've been waiting for our victims. I've been here, and everyone else is smoking.
You swear God there's no one walked across the stage?
I swear down, no.
Well, I kept hearing someone walking across the stage, and you'll hear me on the recording because I keep saying, "Oh, I think it's just those guys."
Oh, well, no.
But I was hearing. I mean, hopefully you'll be able to hear them, but I kept hearing someone walking across the stage.
And you heard noises like bumps and bangs.
Yeah,
and nothing much more than that. But if there's nobody walking across the stage, I want to hear from Pete. Is Pete here?
Pete is here.
Oh, there you go.
He's smoking a cigar, I think.
That's right. It's here as well, so everybody's here.
Yeah.
That's really scary now.
I know at the very beginning I said we're going to stay out here or in the bistro. Mm-hmm. That's the only places for anybody to be. I sat at the top of that double flight of stairs that takes you to the understage area.
Yeah.
Lindsay was down beside the wall.
Right.
Did
you walk across the stage?
No.
Did you move anything to make knocking noises or any of that?
Absolutely nothing.
Were you anywhere above the understage area at all?
Nope.
That's horrible.
Because she's coming out saying, "Oh, I haven't had anything at all," and then all of a sudden she's heard knocks and bangs and somebody walking across the stage. Was there any other noises?
No, but there was a few times I heard footsteps and I thought it was your boots. Because I could hear like footsteps walking across the stage, and I honestly just assumed you were up there. So maybe something did happen because you'll hear on the recording there's a few times
Can you hear it? I mean, I don't know how loud it is from under there.
Hopefully you can, because it was quite loud, and obviously I was saying, "Oh, I think that's just those guys." But someone was walking across the stage on the wood.
Hey.
I'm not that.
It's beginning. But hang on, let me just say hello, George.
Hello, how are you?
Good to meet you, man. And of course, Heather's here as well. Hi, Heather. Now, Heather, receptionist extraordinaire. Why are you here tonight?
Because this is something that I need to tick off my list of things to do before I die.
Right. Well, I mean, we've just heard there's 3 dead people that's been placed below ground here, like scattered ashes.
Oh, lovely.
Right next to a graveyard. It's really, really quite good. George, you sent a letter in.
Yes.
Bit of a skeptic. That's fair enough.
Yes. Yep.
Never particularly believed, and then you had a little tweak of something when a relative died. What was that?
Well, I was very, very close to my granddad, and basically he was diagnosed terminally ill.
Right.
He was let out from hospital to come home and die with his family.
Yeah.
And I was 14, something like that.
Yeah.
And we're staying at my grand's house, and the doctor was there that day.
Right.
And basically said, it's probably going to happen tonight. So, of course, everyone was there and hanging around him, and so they just made him, as best they could, in the time. And
I was getting upset. That's all right. It's nice. You just shows you care, man. Let's say nothing wrong with that.
And I sort of bottled it,
right?
And I decided that I couldn't stay in the same house,
right?
So I decided to go to a relative's house.
Right.
And when I was sleeping on the couch, it was about, I don't even know the time, but it was really early hours of the morning.
Right.
I don't know if I woke up or whether it was just like a dream.
Right.
But my granddad was standing there.
Right.
And he just put his hand down on me and just said, "I'll see you soon, son. I'm going to somewhere better." And gone. But I didn't know if it was a dream or whether he was actually...
Right. But you'd been feeling really guilty about it as well.
That's what
maybe if you were close...
That's why I thought it was a dream, or whether it was just my mind sort of just...
Could have been anything. So it really is, on the back of that, though, you want to see, is there anything?
Yeah,
and if there is, then you can feel reassured that your granddad did come back and say goodbye to you, which is a lovely thing.
Yeah.
And Heather, have you ever seen anything? I've never asked.
I've not seen anything, heard anything. But
Nothing.
I'm not a skeptic, though. I do believe.
Just you haven't seen anything, you haven't experienced it.
No.
Right, well, what we're going to do is, I think we're going to go into the auditorium where I'm going to tell you the story of the place first, and then we're going to, Lindsay's going to be joining in as well, because she's already had our first nibble of something that we cannot explain, which is really good. It's a rabbit warren of dark places. You will be on your own. The only thing that I say to you that is vital is the places we're putting you are not made for you to be. So once you're there, just stay there. If you need to get out, shout, and one of us will find you. There's going to be somebody, the nearest we're going to be, and this is really important, and our guys know it, we don't want to move around to make you think it's us. So I always keep everybody, like here, like Lindsay was there on her own. Left the room she was in, and I went up a couple of flights of stairs so that if she shouted, I'd hear her, hopefully. I didn't hear her shout, so I left her to it. And you keep out of the road, and you keep completely still, so that if there's stuff there to hear, then you're going to hear it. When you are where you are, keep talking into the talkie stick, because it's radio, and if not, it's the most boring show we've ever done. So just keep what you feel, what you see. If you want a hint as how to see spirit, it's bizarre. It'll sound like it doesn't work, but I promise you that it does. And if you speak to an optician, they'll back up the medical logic of this. Usually, you see full-bodied apparitions, or light spirit, as I would call them, dead straight. So if there's something moving, if there's a light anomaly, you'll see it directly ahead of you. The dark things, the blackness that moves, you see out of the cones and the corners of your eyes, the white of your eye, if you would. Now, if I did that, I can still see I've got two fingers up, even though I'm looking directly ahead. So if you see something dark moving, if you do that, you'll not see it. If it's something white that you catch a glimpse of, then you will. But if it's something black, and there's black stuff in here, I've seen it already, especially on the, funnily enough, on the actual stage behind the iron, behind the safety curtain. It's where the guy called Bob Crowther died. And if you see that blackness moving, if you're clever, and if it moves there, you do that. You see how you can kind of follow it in a peripheral vision? You can do that either side. If you get a chance to see something black moving, follow it, because if you do, because you're focusing in on it with the side of your eye, you can still make out whether it's a man, whether it's a woman, in some cases clothing. And what we want, dream scenario tonight, is I want you to hear something, I want you to see something. It's always the dream that you get the full package. Don't know what we're going to get. We've already had an anomaly that we can't explain. We're going to let Lindsay have a smoke, I think, and then we'll bring her back to action. But we ask you to stay here for obvious reasons. I'm going to put both of these people into a dark place within the next 10 minutes. But just before that, I'll take you into the main theatre itself, and you can have a look at what you're dealing with. Okay? So just follow us around. Okay? I've been getting lost ever since I got here. Oh, there you go. That's easy. Right. Now, all these lights will be off. There will be safety lights on, but they're just the bar lights, so it will be quite dark in here. And you'll be up on all the floors, and there's top of the cake is quite high. Are you frightened of heights?
No.
No, that's all right. You all right, George?
Yeah, fine.
Champion, right? Okay. So, just grab a seat here, and I'll tell you a little bit about the theatre. So, long story short, it's a beautiful theatre. It's been here 150 years. They're celebrating their 150th year, and everybody is thrilled to bits about it, because you can see how beautiful it is. It's a gorgeous looking thing. However, when you research back and you find out what was here first, you get a different picture of what the land was used for. Now, I want to take you back probably 1,200 years. We're going like 800 AD, we're talking here. Countryside, nothing but countryside. The Novo Castria, the new castle, was being built, and you're getting, the castle wall was here, just at the back, called Westgate Road, because it was the road leading to the West Gate into the city. The wall that leads up to Chinatown, for those of you that know the area. That's the original outer castle wall. And what was this side of the castle was fields and hills and a road leading in, the main road leading in from Scotland, in fact, because the A1, as you know, is nearly the road that used to come down there. It's moved a little bit, but it's roughly where it was. So what they used to have outside the castle were wooden huts where travellers would come and they'd sell whatever wares they'd knock up or vegetables they'd pinched usually, but trying to catch any business they can coming in and going out of the castle through the Great West Gate. Now, while they were here, there was no buildings other than like wooden huts and tents and easily assembled and disassembled things to catch trade. Then, if you can remember, probably, I don't know, however long the Centre for Life's been there, when the Centre for Life was being built, they found a Celtic graveyard. Now, the Celtic graveyard went up roughly to the bottom of Blenheim Street in Newcastle, and they tried to leave it alone as best they can. However, there was another graveyard from later, from the 8, 9, 1100s, that ran over this ground. And then I'm going to fast forward history for you, just because I can. In 1120, the first Jewish cemetery in Britain was put down, and it was on the outskirts of London. It was a place called Cripplegate. And the way that they put that cemetery down was a model on how every Jewish cemetery would be for the next 500 years. However, they built a Jewish cemetery. It didn't have very many people here because there wasn't very much of a Jewish population in Newcastle. However, in 1180, the British king, or the English king, decided he was going to throw all of the Jewish people out of England because they had money, they had riches. For all the same reasons that Hitler tried to get rid of the Jews from Germany, the English king decided he was going to chuck the Jewish people out. So off they went. So the Jewish cemeteries, there was nobody looking after them. They were kicked over, they were robbed, they were ruined. And then, slowly but surely, after they'd been expelled, they started creeping back into England because they could make money, and they were setting businesses up, and a lot of them weren't even admitting being Jewish. They were just getting on with it under the away from the microscope. And then, the second pandemic hit Britain, the Great Plague. People were dying. The Jewish community were hit really hard. Religious communities did in general, because the churches and the synagogues said to everybody, it's a terrible plague, come together, we'll all be united and we'll get through it. Well, the worst thing you could do is unite with a load of other people, because if one had the plague, well, you'd all have the plague. And that's what happened. And about 800 people died in the vicinity, and they were all buried in a cemetery beneath this building behind a concrete wall. Now, after the plague had got long gone, scratchers came in. Now, scratchers were essentially grave robbers, and they knew all these Jewish people had the plague and were buried, so nobody would have been through their pockets. Nobody'd be too keen to see if they had a gold pendant, or they're carrying a pocket full of money, and all their bodies, fully dressed, are in there. Well, blimey. The hawkers, who were already building wooden huts outside the gate to sell things, suddenly started digging the odd hole here and there and finding bodies, and started robbing them and taking the gold and the treasures and a lot of money, a lot of coin. Got to remember, we weren't talking plastic money back in the day. We're talking about coins, essentially, not even paper money. So they were getting a lot of rings and a lot of wealth. And they decided, blimey, I've skimmed the surface here, but it goes down about 8 to 10 feet. You kind of dig 10 feet holes for the size of a field. Then came the time when they decided they were going to build a coaching inn where Tilly's Bar is on the end. And they built a big coaching house. And when they dug down, remembering that the land back then was about 10 feet deeper down than it is now, because with pipes and, building new roads, we're a bit higher up now. 10 feet down. When they put their foundations in, they were getting to the bottom end of where the Jewish bodies were. So people would creep into the hole late at night, dig a little pit in the side, take as much money as they could, move along, do a little bit more. And they were making a fortune. However, the people building the coach house came in one day, and the big heavy rocks the wall they were building, there's a hole in it, and they're going, what the? So they blocked the hole. They'd come back the next day, there's another hole, blocked the hole. So eventually, they went down and they just filled the hole, and then they put another hole, another wall on top of the wall, so like a big retaining wall to keep the bodies behind. There were still 2 people in there, and they were buried alive. 2 of the scratchers didn't get out, because the family then came up and said, you haven't seen a couple of lads around here? And they built, no, we haven't seen anybody. But they were in there robbing the dead. So they believe that some of the black things that move around in here could be, especially the ones deep down, could be the scratchers, maybe, or it could be any of the people, the Jewish people that were innocently buried here. But they were buried in a pit at the time, because nobody wanted to touch them, and you can imagine what the plague, how bad the plague was. 2 other stories. One involves this stage behind the safety curtain. A man by the name of Bob Crowther was a technician here at the theatre, and he was responsible for some of the special effects. And one of the special effects, backstage, they'd put in like a runway that we think went in that kind of shape. And you would put a cannonball, a real heavy sucker that you used to be firing at people. You put it in the top, and it would roll down this metal thing, recreating the sound of thunder. So, somebody's doing Macbeth here in the theatre, and the 3 witches, and thunder, and this big ball noise. Well, somebody had apparently, with a set of ladders, bumped in to this walkway and put a little bumper in it so that it wasn't quite as secure as it was. And the cannonball, when it was coming down, hit the end, bounced up in the air, and it hit Bob on the head and killed him. Now, for a number of years in the theatre, they used to have a seat, Bob's seat, in the gods, right at the very top, where, and even to this day, we're told the seat just falls open. Or sometimes the seat won't go up, because that's where Bob sits. And he comes and he watches all the performances. And they used to put a dummy, like a mannequin, up there. And that freaked out more people probably than the ghost ever did. And the other story that comes from here was when this was the Tyne Theatre first, then it became the Stoll Cinema, and then after that it became the Tyne Theatre and Opera House. And back in the day, this girl volunteered to work here because she was being physically abused by her husband. And she said to the people here, I wish I could stay in this theatre forever. It's the only place I feel safe. 3 days later, the man beat her to death. And they believe that she is the spirit that sometimes, once again, you see a woman walking along the top row, and people who are actually on stage doing their thing have seen her and been quite taken by. Sometimes they'll be doing rehearsal and there's nobody in the building, and you see a woman in old clothing, white clothing, walking by. So there's a lot of stories. There's about, we know, a minimum of 800 dead Jewish people down there. There's 3 people that have chosen to put their urns and their ashes down there too, so that's an interesting place. There's also a bar called Dillon's Bar that's from the 1970s, and the glasses are still there from 1970, and the old cigarette machines all in there, old school. It's down beneath the level of the graveyard, and that's had stuff happening down there too. So one of you's going in there now. Okay, Heather, you come with me. Can we make sure that you keep everybody back up there? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Right, this way. You all right? Yeah. 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 Okay. This is where Bob Crowther died. Watch your step, because it's
use the light on my phone just for now.
Just for now, but I'm going to take your phone off you in a second. Right? You all right? This way. In fact, I think I might take you even further. Yeah, I think, come with me. There's so many places that have got stories. This is one of them. Tell you what, can you give me do you want to switch your phone off?
Yeah.
And also, after I've given you the microphone, I'm going to put it in this little sock. Okay. Then just hold the bottom of it like that so you can talk. Okay? Yeah. That's absolutely right. Watch your step. Right. This is the wall with the... that's the retaining wall. Okay, in you come. We've reserved you the best seat in the house. Okay? Watch your head on these things as well. Okay, just grab a seat. Telephone, please. Thank you kindly. And you will get it back, don't worry. So, well, the place where you're going, essentially, is down there, down that hole. Oh. Now, when you climb down backwards, because there's a step. Okay? I'll come down with you the first. There's another set that you go down, but I'll come down the first one. Just make sure you keep a nice hold. How are you for rats?
Not great.
Not great. Okay. Sorry?
I don't think I can go down there.
No? Oh dear.
I just thought someone would be like in close proximity.
Well, where I'll be is outside that door. Right. But this is the wall down to the funeral bit. You sure you want to give it a try? Come and give it a go. Just face the way that I'm facing. You keep your hands on the wood that's at your left-hand side. Just keep coming. That's good. There we go. See, it's actually quite a big place. Sorry if I left you. Hang on. I'm here. Okay. You can't focus, it's nice and sturdy. However, where's your hand? Where's your hand? Just come down here. It's only one little bit more to go. And it's here. It's the same again. You get your, like a little step there, and then you get around it, and down you go. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this here for you. Now, when you get to the bottom, worry about that. Don't worry about it now. Turn, over. Sorry, keep a hold of my hand just for a moment. I'll keep a hold of the wood. Now, ease back. Your foot, you'll feel the edge.
Yeah.
Same as the last one. Use that on the wood on your left-hand side. And you're down, pretty much.
So how, if I need to get out?
I'll be there in a second. I'm going to be outside the door, sitting on those stairs that I was on before, okay? This is where the lady was. Ease yourself down till you get to the bottom. And you can walk around and you can go anywhere you like.
I don't think I'll end up walking around.
But just talk and tell me what you feel, what you see, all of that kind of stuff.
And how long?
Nobody on the stage. Now the stage is directly above here.
So how long am I here for?
5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes tops.
Okay.
If you get into any kind of trouble, shout, don't run, okay?
Okay.
There you go. Does that help you at all?
Yeah, thank you.
Just have a look around.
Okay.
Get used to the place.
Can you not stay? Can you not stay there?
I can't see you as long as that's helpful to you.
Yeah. Do you have to leave?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, otherwise you'll think it's me.
Okay.
Right, there you go. Good luck.
I don't think I've ever been so terrified in my entire life. I feel like my heart is like beating out of my chest. I feel like I'm almost haunted, actually. Oh, goodness me. Why on earth did I think this would be fun?
Okay, so... Okay, I can hear footsteps above me, and I've just been told there's no one above me. Really light footsteps. Okay, let's stop now. I can hear a... Okay, I just heard a bang. I can hear a ringing noise. I've just been told that there's no one above me and no one around me. There's direct footsteps above me. Okay, so I feel like my heart is like beating out of my chest right now. But that is just anxiety. Okay, there's very obvious footsteps above me still. It's like casual footsteps, as if someone's literally just casually walking above me. It's not even subtle. Just had a door open. I think that was a door that's just opened. It sounded like a heavy duty door. Alan! Alan! Okay, something's just been chucked at me. Okay, I'm going back. Alan!
What's happened?
You haven't moved.
Bloody hell, you were quick. I'm just sitting there.
You haven't moved at all.
No, I've just been there.
Okay,
I didn't hear you though, because there's that noise of the thing. Hell's been there, what, 2 minutes? What happened?
Just footsteps, like casual footsteps, like not even subtle, as if someone's like casually walking above us. And then I heard like something like a heavy duty door sort of open or close.
This door? Because this door, is it that?
Something like that.
Something like that.
And then it was as if someone had chucked something at me downstairs, and I heard like, imagine if you chucked a pebble and then it was like landing on wood.
That's ridiculous. Look, I tell you what, we cannot leave this because we've literally just got in. Let's go back in a bit, if you like.
I won't go back down by myself.
No?
No. I'll go with someone, but I won't go back down by myself. That was I didn't even expect that much to happen in the first, like...
Well, how long were you down here? I know the girl heard some
about
footsteps.
A minute.
But you see, the length of time it would take me to get to the stage, I don't know, but a couple of minutes too.
As soon as I went downstairs, I heard footsteps above me.
So literally as I was coming through the door?
Yeah, and it was just constant footsteps. It wasn't even subtle, to which I did think, or maybe there is someone upstairs, but obviously if there isn't...
There's nobody there.
But that didn't freak me out, because obviously she had told us about that, but it was the fact that, because that was above,
right.
From what I heard from where at my level, was someone in the distance had chucked something and it had like bounced off the floor.
I nearly wet myself when you hammered on that door. What the hell's that? Ridiculous. So, we come in. Let's see if we get anything. We'll hang on a little bit together.
Do you want me to hold that?
You can hold the mic, absolutely. Where's me? Got a torch somewhere. I got it working before. Oh, there it is.
Did you hear that?
Yes.
It's like that heavy duty door, like that noise.
Yes. It's not that though.
No, it's not.
It's not the door we thought it could be, which is the one that... Did you see anything when you were down there?
No, I didn't see anything. It was just noises.
Come on then.
Didn't expect anything to happen that quick.
Give us a... Well, she was down here about 15-20 minutes before...
Is this where she was?
Yeah,
before?
down the bottom with you.
Oh, right. Oh, and she heard the steps as well?
Yep.
Oh, my goodness. It was the fact that it progressively felt as if it was getting...
Yeah,
towards me.
No, I understand. The whole point, though, Heather, is for you to try and stay there.
I know.
I know sometimes if you get beyond the level you can cope with, you just need to get the hell out.
I don't mind if it's like subtle, but that was just too much.
Come on, I want to hear it too. Anything. Come on. Anything.
I mean, I'll go back down if you're going back down.
I think we should. I just think we should. So if we're both down there
If we're
together.
both down, yeah, I don't mind if we're both down.
Okay, come on then. Do you want to take the torch as well? Make it easier for you because I can manage in the direction. Let's go down and see what we get.
I'm surprised I managed to get up the stairs without falling over.
I'm amazed. That's because I'm sitting on the little metal cabinet in the dark and all of a sudden there's a hammering. It's the last thing I expected. Can you manage?
Yeah, I'm alright.
Just got to be a bit careful of this one. This one's a little steeper. So when you heard a noise, you said something was chucked.
It just felt like it was like in a corner.
Something up the top.
Yeah,
that corner.
It just felt like, imagine maybe if you dropped something from a height and it bounced a bit, like a pebble or a marble or something.
That's the wall.
Oh, God.
And that's the old arches. When it was a tavern, you keep all the barrels and stuff.
All right, yeah.
And that's the main wall, the retaining wall for the cemetery.
Right. So that is the stage above, right above?
Yeah, right above.
Right.
But for me to get there from there, you'd hear me going up the stairs.
Yeah. If I didn't know any better, it just sounded as if people were just walking back and forth. Yeah.
I think that's just me. I think that's reflection.
I felt something. I think I'm just overthinking things now.
What did you feel?
Like a poke on my cheek when I was looking over there, but could have been anything.
You felt a poke in your cheek.
Yeah, like a.
Somebody's touched your face.
Yeah.
That's great. Let's get some more then. Touch her again. Again. I want to feel you. The problem is we're wearing quite heavy clothes.
Yeah.
If you're wearing t-shirts, I always recommend bare arms because then you can feel air moving and you can feel cool spots. Come on then. Come on. If you go in there, let's do it. Oh. Did you hear that?
No. What was that? Yeah.
You getting it?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's like small feet moving?
Yeah.
Kids.
Can you hear some sort of like music or something? Like
I thought that was just in my head.
You can hear that, can't you?
Yeah, but it's
very distant.
Yeah, but it's orchestral.
Yeah.
It's not a rock band. Yeah, it's right in the distance, and I know we've got that thing that doesn't help that air conditioning. Now it's getting that. Oh. Small footsteps from the stage over there.
Yep.
You heard that?
Yep.
What was it? We're not alone.
Oh my God.
That's in here. That's not the stage.
Okay, it was the stage before.
That was in here.
But that wasn't here.
Can you imagine if you were here by yourself?
I would have
And
died.
I locked the door.
I would have
There's
died.
just a lock on it.
Oh.
You're only coping with that because I'm here.
Yes. And I'm still barely coping.
But you know, when people come on ghost hunts, they have this idea that it's like Ghostbusters and it's a good laugh and it's a lot of fun it's probably be mate just making this. Who's that? I'm with you now. I'm still getting it, and you've had a poke in the cheek.
That's the first I've ever felt or heard anything that's supernatural in my life, and that's absolutely terrifying because Because
Are you liking it or are you hating it?
Mixed feelings.
Right, yeah, that's honest. Come on, let's have some more. This is amazing. And we've got poor George who's down there all on his own.
No, brave man.
Yeah. Can you see? Come over here. Can you see the way the light moves? There's almost like a cross of light there.
Yes.
And you see past it, there's like a little square.
Yeah.
Something's just walked across the front of that square.
Oh, gosh.
Show yourself. Come on. We're here for you. I can't believe we've had as much as we've had already.
I can't believe how much I had when I came down.
You've only been here for 10 minutes.
Is this not normal?
No, well, not really.
Oh, God.
Not so fast. Usually it seems to accelerate, and I'm not even sure I know
Maybe
how it does.
Maybe if it was the girl, she's had like a connection because I'm a female.
Maybe.
If that was her, I don't know.
That was clear as day in here.
Yeah.
Can you see the door from here? Oh. This may be enclosed.
Can you?
Not quite. I think that's it, is it?
I keep getting little like tingling sensations in my legs, but I don't know if that's just anxiety.
I don't know.
Don't want to milk it.
No. But that's the whole point. It's whatever's real to you.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's not for me. The good thing is at least we heard some of the stuff together while we were both down.
Yeah.
It's on the stage again. Voices.
Yeah, got that.
You got that?
Got that, yeah. But they're very faint.
Yeah. Was a girl though.
Yep.
You getting a conversation?
Yeah, I thought it was a conversation. I didn't just hear one person, no.
No, but I heard it was like a woman talking, but
Yeah.
like a chat.
Yeah. Hello?
Casual.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're getting. Tell them what you're getting.
We're getting a woman's conversation, a casual conversation just above us very faintly.
Ridiculous. Let's go to where it is then. Let's follow it. That's good though. We've got stuff. There's more than we thought we were going to get.
True. Do I just leave the store as it is, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I suppose.
Got to put George down there at some point.
Listen. Do you hear that? That's the sound of nothing.
Those extra little stairs, and I'm literally right on, well, I'm assuming it's like earth, so I'm assuming it's obviously the actual foundations of the whole building. But it's like, what is it? Oh, well, that's big concrete there. Yeah, so obviously there are foundations and stuff. And I'm literally, as Alan was saying, there's a wall in front of me, and it's like a series of like archways, if you know what I mean. Archways cut into this wall, where Alan said it was like the old wine cellar or whatever, but that's the wall. I assume behind that wall is where the cemetery was. So I'm literally down here. There's a lot more light down here, so I feel a bit better that I'm down here now. I don't want to bump into that, because that's if you can hear that, that's a fire bucket. And I'm right at the bottom, right the way down next to those. Sorry, I paused there, because I'm getting noises above me again. And again, it's like somebody's dragging something. sounds as if somebody's dragging something. It sounded like... It's hard to describe. Dragging a sandbag. That sort of noise. And then you're getting like the... I don't know if you can hear that. Can you hear that? I've got like a series of about 5, 6, 7 bangs in a row, and it sounded like either somebody was like knocking like that, or you know when you pull on rope, when you've got rope under tension, and you pull on rope, and you get that like as the rope is like literally, slipping and snagging sort of affair. That's what it sounded like. It sounds as if somebody was like trying to lift scenery or like lift something with rope. I mean, that's probably connected with that sort of like dragon noise before. I'm just going to shut up a second because I'm getting creaks and like not like voice groans, but like as if the building's like moving and creaking and groaning and stuff like that. I'll just be quiet a second. But that was weird. Like the 7 bangs in a row sort of thing. If you did that, can you do it again? No, nothing. Nothing. Oh, hang on. Hold on. Whoa. Whoa there, Tigger. I'm getting that dragon noise again. Not dragon as in fairy, but as if something's being dragged along the floor. And a little knock, and another little knock. I'm trying to keep quiet. I'm trying to listen. Trying to listen. Oh. That's oh, hang on. Yeah, I'm getting noises again above me. But I can't determine where it is. I don't know whether it's because obviously, as I say, I'm right at the very, very bottom. Then there's like a middle section of like walkways and all that sort of thing. And then I assume above that is the stage itself. Now, I can't determine whether it is coming from... I don't know if you could hear that. I don't know if you picked that up. Somebody just coughed. Yeah. I heard you. Are you there? Do you know what that sounded like? That sounded like Alan said they used to like run a cannonball down like a metal sort of runway to make like thunder noises, and that first noise sounded like that. But then I'm getting a cough. Somebody's actually coughed. I don't know if that was picked up on the microphone at all. Can you do that again? Well, I mean, literally not cough again, but... There's the bang again. Bang again. I don't know if you can hear that. I don't know if you can hear that. But that sort of dragging noise again. And then another little knock. I don't know if you can hear it, like a banging noise. Bang, bang, bang. I'm not sure if you're picking this up at all. I'm not sure if you were picking this up. I don't know if can I get over there where that cough came from? Oh, shit. I don't know if I can see here. Because I'm literally... This is... Oh, hell. Where all this scenery stuff is. Ooh. Right, so I'm literally... I've walked to the other end where I thought the cough came from. Oh, hell. There's like... Oh, bits of foundation. God knows what down here. I'm thinking I'm going to go arse over tit here. Do you want to try and talk to me? Do you want to come and talk? Do you want to tell me who you are? Whoa. I tell you what, the hairs on the back of my neck just went off as if I'd been electrocuted there. I don't know whether I'm feeling something. Whether I don't know. It's strange. Hang on. Whoa. God, there's all sorts of crap down here. It's not cold. It's not cold at all. No. Was that you before who made a cough? Gone quiet again. Gone very, very quiet again. Definitely heard that. I don't know whether you picked that up on the mic, but it was definitely as if somebody was clearing their throat. I mean, down here is extremely dusty, and I mean really, really dusty. But it was like it was that sort of cough of somebody clearing their throat, like a little that sort of thing. I definitely heard that. You did not. Oh, I'm getting footsteps. I mean, heavy footsteps. Heavy footsteps. That dragging noise again. I can't make my mind. Where's that coming from? Is that coming from the centre section, or is that coming from... Oh, did you hear that? I don't know if you picked that up. There was that really, really heavy dragging noise, as if somebody was literally dragging, a bag of coal across the floor. That's how loud that was. That was unreal. If I'm the only one down here, that was unreal. I don't know. Oh, that was Alan. That's Alan. That's Alan coming back. Yeah, I'm down here, mate. Where are you? Oh, God. Yeah, I'm just making my way along here. Yeah, I'm coming up here now. Right, coming up. Wow. Somebody just coughed.
Give over.
No, I'm kidding. I'm not. I swear to God. I walked from down here.
Right.
Down to here.
Hang on, start from the beginning.
Right. I got
Because
I got footsteps.
You were up here, because you've been down on the...
Yeah, I got footsteps up here again, but I thought, right, I'm not going up there again, I'll just stay down here.
Right.
I got footsteps, I got as if somebody was dragging something along the floor.
Down there?
Up here, in here. Up
you
here.
See somebody coming through the door,
Yeah, oh no, there's definitely nobody came through the door, because I shouted for you.
Right.
And nobody came through.
Right.
Then as I thought, what I'll do is I'm going to come round and come under here.
Right.
So I came round under here, and literally, as I got about here underneath, somebody coughed. As if they were clearing their throat.
In here?
In here. Down
where you
literally, within that distance of the wall away from me.
What's about...
As if they were clearing their throat. Like that.
Whoa.
I was like, I hope to hell that was picked up.
Wow.
I hope to hell that was picked up.
Did you get any kind of noises?
Just dragging and footsteps.
Dragging,
like footsteps, and I got like a really, really deep rumble. You know when you were saying about the guy with the thunderball?
Yes.
That sort of like...
Give over.
That sort of noise of like as if...
Did I caught it?
I hope so.
Oh, wow.
But that's what I got, and that's when it all started. I went, whoa. And I came, because I nearly went over arse over tip. I literally came running over to this side because I literally thought it was coming from here. These ropes here. Yeah, these ropes here.
Yeah, well, this is what moves the stage up and down, but they haven't been used for years.
Yeah, and that's what I thought, and that's why I came over to here. And then somebody coughed, and I was like, are you kidding me or what?
Are you a tad more convinced than you were?
Well, there's definitely something, because I heard that clear as day. I definitely heard somebody cough. That wasn't imagination.
You heard that rumble?
And I heard the rumble, and if obviously there's nobody up here, and if there's nobody up there, then...
Got one more place for you, if you're keen to just dive straight to it. Let's go. Now I'm going to go a little bit further away, because the place I want you to be is here. Now you're going to get a little bit of ambient noise. I'll try and... It's still light. I can't switch this on because it's
emergency lighting. Yeah.
Now this was the cupboard where they used to keep a lot of props and a lot of girly stuff.
Right.
And the young girl who's supposed to be here used to come into this place.
Right.
So we've got you a chair.
Right.
So if you don't mind getting dusty pants
on
that, and let me know what you get.
Right, no worries.
Stay in here if you can.
Right.
I'm going to close the door on you.
No worries.
Where I'm going to be is I'm going to be at the top of those stairs. So that I think that's probably far enough for you not to hear me.
Right. Not a problem then.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Good luck.
Right, no problem. Right. Well, I'm in this little... Well, literally, it's like a little walk-in cupboard type of affair. It's actually a bit bigger than a cupboard. It's actually about... Hang on, if I stretch out... Yeah, it's about 6 foot wide, and that's me, and about, I would say, 12 foot deep in length. Obviously, pitch black. I've got noise in here, but it sounds like a fan running, an extractor going, something like that. When Alan first brought me in here, there was like a row of old sinks on the floor, so I'll just be careful on there. And what I'm doing is I'm literally sitting in the dark, pitch black. Whoa! Now I don't know if you'll be able to pick that up, but that sounded like somebody dropping something metal. Not a spanner, but hard to describe. How can I describe that? Somebody dropping like a metal rule on the floor, like a metal measuring rule on the floor. That's what that sounded like. Now Alan's miles away, apparently. Well, not miles away, but he's literally long corridor, up the stairs, up 2 flights of stairs, so I assume it can't be him. But yeah, as I say, right, I'm in this little room. I don't
feel anything. I don't feel nervous at all. I don't feel frightened. In fact, I feel quite calm, actually. Apart from that noise, I just literally went off there. That, you know, that nearly needed a wipe, but never mind. But yeah, I'm just sitting. I don't want to ramble on too much because I'm trying to listen, see if I hear anything or feel anything. I don't know. But that noise that I heard, like as I say it sounds as if somebody dropped like a metal rule on the floor just outside the door. Literally just outside the door. Getting a banging noise. Getting a very, very, very faint bang. Yeah. I'm getting noise as if somebody is literally, not the door that leads to like the place where I am, but maybe a bit further back. Bang, 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 bang on the doors. It's like, you know, sort of bang, 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 let me in. Bang, 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 let me in. Strange. I'll tell you one thing. All of a sudden I've got extremely warm. Extremely hot. Yeah. Very strange. Glad I did this, actually. As I say, I'm not really a believer in anything like this, but I'm open-minded. But there's quite a few bits and pieces going on tonight that I can't explain. That cough. Definitely. Absolutely 100%. I heard that. And there was nobody else down there with me. Just myself. And that really, it didn't spook me, didn't frighten me, because it felt like, well, it you know, as if somebody was just clearing their throat. It was, you know, like a little type of thing. Because as I say, it was very, very dusty. It's very dusty in here, actually. My throat is dry as... mouth so dry. But yeah, absolutely. Right, now in this room, as I say that I'm in, you can't see anything at all. It's absolutely pitch black. Absolutely pitch black. But I'm getting a faint chink of light coming through, like, between the door jamb and the door itself. So that's all I've got. Literally, it's all I've got in the way of light. But absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Can't see. Oh! Somebody's whistling. I can hear somebody whistling. Somebody is walking. I'm going to try and whisper here because somebody is walking past that. There it is. There. You've got to be shitting me. I was just saying before. All you can get is a faint chink of light where the emergency light comes through between the door jamb. Somebody's just walked past that door jamb. And I heard whistling. As if somebody was like, you know, a job of work, whistling, happy in their job. You have got to be shitting me. I'm just going to try and be quiet here. I can hear. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. I thought I could hear whistling again. I thought I could hear whistling again. No. No, right, anyway. Yeah, that was a bit spooky. Considering there's supposed to be nobody else in that corridor. and all I've got is this chink of light between the door and the door jamb, and it literally, that shadow of something walking past the door jamb, but whistling, going past, as if they're going, whistling away, going past the door, la la la. Weird. Absolutely weird.
Right. Collywobbles. Didn't expect the collywobbles from you.
Yeah.
Do you really want to quit, or do you feel like you kind of cope with this? Or?
Yeah.
Jeepers.
I think, I don't know, I don't think I expected that much so quick, so that scared me, and thinking what else could I possibly...
Right, well, I mean, but it's the what else that's fascinating. Right, you already know that this is a bit of a bitch. Watch your step. There's one little step before you get under there. It's surprising because there's a little bit of light. Where's my torchable? What's here? This is a 70s bar, the way it used to be back in the day. The dust. That's just white noise. It's all right. So you can sit down if you want on a booth. Where would you prefer to be?
I don't know. I just don't know if I can stay.
Well, hang on. This is what it's like.
No, I can stay with you, but I can't stay after.
Okay. Well, you sit there, and I'll sit at the opposite end. Let's see if we get anything. Whoa! Broken neck. Right, here we go. Oh, I'm not being terribly bright here because I've just taken your microphone away, and it's actually chat away to nothing. There you go now, nice and gently. There you go. Good job. Stick it in your sock. There you go.
I didn't think I'd be such a scaredy cat.
Right.
Can you hear that? Okay, it's pitch black. I can't really see anything. I'm feeling very hot. Like very, very hot. Like my neck feels really hot. Like my right hand side of my neck feels hot. I don't know why.
How you doing?
I'm okay.
What are you feeling?
I just feel really, really hot. Like the right hand side of my neck's really hot, like facing the door. I don't know. I don't really understand. I don't know. I've got heart palpitations. I don't think I've ever been so scared in my life. Alan, is that you? Were you moving?
No, I'm still here right in front of it.
Okay. Oh God. Okay. I heard something. I heard like a rapper. I heard some clicking.
I didn't get it here.
Did you not?
All I'm hearing is that white noise.
Okay, I can't. I'm done. Alan, can you shine that light?
Just take your time. There's nothing happens. You got a little clicky noise. I didn't hear it, but you obviously did.
I think the reason I panic is because I forget that nothing can technically hurt me.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. Say again.
I feel like the reason I panic is because I forget that nothing can actually hurt me.
Nothing's hurt you at all, absolutely.
Nothing. It's nothing to fear but fear.
Absolutely. Let's face it, there's nothing. You've heard noises.
Yeah.
You didn't expect. You've seen a few things, heard a bit of conversation.
Yeah.
Something's even touched you.
Yeah.
So it hasn't hurt you. Was that you?
No, I heard that like a vroom noise.
Was that what it was? Just a room noise?
No, what did you hear?
I heard
like a zoom.
Just kind of just a crunch or something.
All right.
Could have been under a footprint or something.
I keep seeing little spots of bright light, like little flashes of light, as if there's like light coming in from somewhere, but there isn't.
Right.
It might just be my eyes playing tricks on me. I keep getting sensations on the back of my legs and my calves when I'm sat down. I don't really know. Like tickling sensations.
Not hurting you.
No, it's just like as if someone's brushing over me with a feather or something.
Right.
Did you hear that?
Yes, a big noise.
Sounds like footsteps.
Oh. Can you hear that?
Yep. Alan, can you turn the light on?
Stay with it. Oh, hang on.
Turn the light on, please.
That's me.
Oh.
I'm going back to my corner. I thought I heard something. Just me.
Okay. Is that you?
Yeah.
Is that still you?
Is what still me?
Are you moving?
No.
Did you just sigh before?
What?
Alan, no, you're gonna have to turn that light on now. I'm leaving.
What is it?
Alan, can you please turn the light on?
What is it?
A voice.
Hang on.
I can't cope with that. Did you not hear that?
I thought was that not you?
Did you not hear that on there?
No. Shit. All that is like a radio tuned to white noise. We get a noise.
It sounds like someone's trying to breathe through it.
It was like, was that not you before?
No. Did you sigh over there before? Like a full-on No,
I sat down and something went bang. That was me.
Oh my God, I heard someone sigh, in real...
In the corner. Give me a... Oh, you can't. Just come with me then. What I did was...
Can you still hear that?
I was sitting here and I didn't know...
Oh, sorry. Can I swear?
What the hell's that?
Can I swear?
Because there's nobody here.
Can I swear?
You swear? Did you just say swear? Say what you feel?
Okay, someone has literally just ran right across the ceiling to the point where that...
And it doesn't seem to matter that we got a torch on here.
No.
That's ridiculous.
That is...
Let's go.
Oh, God.
That's amazing.
Oh, my God.
Got a bit of everything. That sigh that you said that you heard, because I didn't hear that.
Are you telling me that wasn't you?
I thought it was you.
Because you know when you went to sit back down and you banged?
Yeah, I fell off.
And then I heard a... like right in the corner, I thought it was you.
No. No, I fell off the seat is what I did. And then I heard a big breath and I thought, oh, she's getting fed up.
It's as if I heard the big breath in real time, then the breath over the white noise straight
so like
after.
one was a repeat of the other?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Tell you what, if I wasn't there by myself, my goodness me.
I was going to bring Richard back and give you a bit more time.
Ran away, you might want to get our story, just bolted in here.
I've just absolutely sprinted.
So,
Take it out.
that might have been what we just heard.
Was it?
I heard somebody running.
Yeah, that was me.
Right.
And shouting.
What happened?
I was just sat in one of the seats. I don't know if it was the box seat. Yeah, I'm not sure. It was near that one. And I did start to get a creepy feeling. There's a few times I shouted down, is anyone in the auditorium? Because it just sounded like someone was moving around.
Right.
And then I'm still out of breath. I swear down, I heard someone start to walk towards me up there as if they were moving along a row of seats, like, because the lead, one of the ones behind, and I know the noise the floor makes because it's quite uneven.
And they're coming towards
you. And it was, yeah, and I had the pendulum and I just dropped it and I ran and I sprinted and I was just like, no, because I don't know, I find it really spooky up there, almost even more so than the foundations. But I swear God, it sounded like someone was up there walking towards me and that.
Well, Heather's going to tell you everything. Heather, explain, but tell us again on mic from the start to the finish of what we got there.
Okay, so it was pitch black when I went in, and I couldn't hear anything. There was no noise.
I sat at the opposite end of the bar.
Yeah,
so couldn't be.
And then Alan had gotten up to look at something.
Yeah.
But then went.
I saw a bit of. I don't know whether you get a bit of ambient light from cars maybe when they're passing by, and when they go across the top, you get a little glimmer on the glass panes of the two doors.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking at.
So I heard a big bang, but Alan said, "Oh, don't worry, it was me."
It was me.
And he kept.
This wasn't helpful.
He banged around a few times. Then I heard like a to the point where I thought it was Alan, and then all of a sudden that noise moved over to, what is it, that radio?
The white noise.
And we heard someone.
The noise of the.
And we heard someone breathing through the radio, like just breathing through it, like almost like a smoker. Like sort of reminded us of.
The weirdest thing about it was, I walked over beside it with her, and it still did it.
Yeah, and we had the light on as well.
Foot off it.
And we also heard like a packet crumpling behind the bar as well at some point.
A packet crumpled behind the bar.
They just love me.
They absolutely. Well, they're doing stuff.
In any club, performance.
Go back to the gods because he'd never recorded before, and yeah, face your fears. So there you go.
Oh, what am I doing? This is really silly. So I'm going back up to the gods by myself. I was up there before. I didn't actually have a recorder with me, but I heard footsteps of someone walking towards me, and I ran faster than I've ever ran in my life, and there was a lot of swear words, so it was probably for the best that I wasn't recording. So here goes. Just propping the door open there. Definitely don't want to get locked in here. Here goes. I hate it up here. I really don't like it up here. I think I'd rather be in the foundations again. Pete? Oh, fuck me. Right. I'm going to sit where I sat before. Are you on the ramp there? God, I'm really out of breath. Okay, so you have to be quiet, I guess. So I'm sat exactly where I was before when I heard footsteps behind me. I didn't hang around to see what else was going to happen. Is there anybody up here with me? I'm going to move further up towards the very back. Somehow the further up you go, it gets creepier. What? Oh, you're having a laugh. You don't mean the old creepy wood room? Oh, God. I've got a bad feeling up here, you know. I don't know why. Oh, nah. It just looks really dark and horrible and the door's open. And I've got... What? The door's open. Just got a bad vibe coming from that room. The door is definitely open. Oh, there's one of the seats up here that's down. Technically, I mean, I know the seats shouldn't be down because they flip back up automatically. Quite often when you come up to the gods, there is a seat down, and I know one of the guys that works here has actually seen a seat move in front of his eyes before. Is anyone up here with me? Would anyone like to talk to me? I haven't got a very good feeling up here. I feel like someone's watching me. Is anybody up here with me? Hello? I'm not really getting anything. If the person who was up here walking around before is still here, I've come back to say hello. Oh, I just got a really cold draft on my right side. Is somebody here? It's a really cold spot here. Pete, I'm just going to sit down again. Is there anyone up here sat in the gods? Apparently this is where you like to chill out because it's nice and peaceful up here. I've got a cold blast again on my right arm. I am actually sat in the seat that's meant to be Bob's. I think it's B. I'm in B14 or 15. I'm not sure which one exactly is meant to be his. Do you know?
No, I don't.
I think we're probably finishing soon, so if anyone wants to come and have a little chat, that would be really nice. Doesn't really seem to be anything happening right now up here. I'm going to go back down in a minute, so does anyone want to come and say hello? No one?
Now, this is Pete, who's not been in the game at all tonight. He's merely here just to make sure we don't kill ourselves. You were in the auditorium. I can't believe something happened to you. Where were you?
I was sat on the top of the loading ramp,
right,
to the stage, just on the edge of the apron.
Yeah.
Lindsay was up in the gods.
Yes.
Talking into the mic, which you'll probably hear.
Right.
And then you will probably at some point hear me go, oh, it sounds like somebody's moving stuff on stage. Because it sounded like we've got a...
safety curtain down.
Yeah, the iron's in. Behind there, we've got the setup for the weekend.
Right.
And in there, one of the large bits of furniture, it sounded like it was being dragged across the stage.
But there was nobody in there?
No, apparently not.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. It's great, but it's ridiculous. Where's Tony? Do we have any idea?
He was filming just upstairs.
He popped out and terrified me.
Tony! Where are you?
Which bit of the audience? Where are you at?
I think he's in the gods.
Yeah, I think you need to go left.
Hey, if I have to lose anybody, it's going to be him. Just stay there, Toe. It's fine, mate. We'll bring you some tea in the morning. So, but you clearly heard something being moved on stage, and you weren't just exaggerating, because you said to me once that if you were this side of the safety curtain, you wouldn't really be able to hear anything.
No, I heard something, and it sounded like something heavy, wooden, and being dragged. And the only thing I can think of is treads up to the stage there that didn't move, and the only other thing that's on stage is part of the set for the weekend.
Right, and there's no way that that's going to just casually take a walk.
Good Lord, no. It took 4 of us to lift it in.
But it's moving. What did you get when you were godding? You got that strange person or somebody moving towards you.
Well, when I went back up before with the microphone that time, but Pete was sat down the bottom and I didn't really, nothing happened. It's just a shame that I didn't have the microphone the first time, because I clearly heard someone walking along one of the rows behind me towards me.
But the cool thing was, he didn't have a mic. And he got something, and we didn't expect Pete to get anything at all tonight. Now, we're just trying to retrieve a lost producer. I think here he comes. First things first, while I was away from you, Heather, you were placed in the auditorium, I think. Or did you go to the gods?
No, I was in the auditorium.
And what happened, if anything?
So, as soon as I went downstairs, I stood still, and in the first minute, I heard someone with heavy boots walking above me, back and forth, just really casually.
Above you?
Above me, yeah. And then I heard hinges, like a door hinge, either opening or closing. And then on the level that I'm on, so below where I was, directly in the corner, it sounded as if someone had chucked something small that would make a tapping noise, as if someone had chucked a stone or a pebble, and it sort of bounced towards me.
Right.
To which then I ran out.
Right. Because all I did was I was down at the top of a flight of stairs above where George was, because George was in that little tiny room that you refused point blank to go into. This is something you wanted to do on your bucket list, and then as soon as we get you here, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
Well, you always think that it's going to be oh, did we hear that, or did you see that? But both places I went into, there was blatant noise that you couldn't explain, could be anything else.
And noise that other people heard as well.
That other people heard as well, yeah, it wasn't just me.
Right, now, we've got to bring George in, if you don't mind just leaning forward just a tad, George. Thank you, mate. Now, George, at the very beginning, you were saying it would be lovely if you could truly believe that you got a final farewell from a relative. And if there is stuff on the other side and stuff... You've had the weird, just now, you've had the weirdest, and yet to me, the most absolutely, totally believable ghost experience. What happened?
Well, I was down in that little room that you put me into, sat there quietly, just literally talking to myself a wee bit, and somebody dropped a metal ruler.
Now, first of all, we can't find a metal ruler anywhere.
It sounds as if somebody had a metal ruler and literally had dropped it on the floor.
But you said immediately outside the door?
Immediately outside of that doorway I was in, there was a shadow. The door leading...
You saw a shadow under the door?
between the door and the door jamb.
Right.
The door that leads through past there, going
that door that
underneath.
goes like a corridor. Yeah.
That opened, and somebody went through there whistling. Whistling, as if they were enjoying their day's work.
So just absolutely matter of fact, as if, I think we've had somebody in this place that's the guy who worked here, his ashes are in the bottom thing.
Yes.
And so there's 3 dead bodies down there, but one of them's a guy who works here, who enjoyed working here. And he can't make this up. You just couldn't create this. No. So, just finally then, at the end of our Stage Fright special, where we've been looking at theatres, we got Heather, who, anytime there's anything remotely ghostly, seems to fire me a text saying, "This is right up my street. I love all of this stuff. This is what I live for." And also recently put a quotation where, if you're not living on the edge, what was your quote?
Life starts at the end of your comfort zone.
Right, well, you came to your edge of your comfort zone today. Did life begin?
Yes, I hope so. I'm a little bit, I don't know how I feel. I feel a bit startled.
Why? Did you really deep down think there wasn't anything?
Yeah, I kind of just, in my head, it wasn't as scary as what it actually was.
It's much more intense when you actually get about it. People think that it's not close to you. We had somebody cough within a couple of feet of his face. I mean, I don't know how you could even think to replicate something like that if you were trying to, set something up. I don't know how you do this kind of thing. But that's the thing, when you and I were down there, there was patently nobody else in there, and yet we heard stuff, caught conversation. Instead, we have a whistler here, just tootling along doing his business. Amazing. How has it changed how you feel about things then, Heather?
I was always a little bit of a believer, but now it startles me that I don't have a choice and I have to believe now.
Right.
Because there's no other way about it.
Right, now, looks like, as far as I can see, that your granddad came to say goodbye.
Well, from what I've experienced tonight, yeah, definitely. There's things going on tonight that I cannot explain at all.
And the only thing you had to do was sit down and let it happen. It wasn't anything that you had to do or create or conjure. You just have to sit down. And the funniest thing was that when we'd had the first experience of stuff with Lindsay, just before you guys arrived, and she's saying, "Oh no, it's probably our team were crashing about the stage and doing stuff." Then she gets there, discovers that everybody else in the building is right where they said they were going to stay, and there's nothing doing stuff. But to have Peter, who, let's face it, is the most down-to-earth, I don't believe in any of that kind of... He got it too. So, I mean, can I just say, first of all, Heather, surprisingly, at the very beginning I thought she's going to bluff it out, she's going to brave it out, nothing's going to affect her, she's going to hear nothing, see nothing, she's going to come away and it's going to be a shallow experience for you. I hoped it wouldn't be, but I thought that was a possibility. And George, I didn't know you, no. Other than your text, and you came within a day's notice. It was only a day we gave you.
Yeah. I mean, as I say, absolutely unreal.
Are you glad you came?
Oh yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt.
Has it changed the way you feel about stuff like this?
Well, the stuff that I cannot explain at all.
Right.
And that obviously puts questions in your mind. And literally, like you say, when going back to my granddad and things like that, did that happen? Did it not?
Everything. You find everything is possible.
Yeah. And I mean, to have that, when that noise came, like down when I was underneath the stage there, and I literally thought, no, don't worry about it, get across there. And I went for it.
Right.
And I got there and the guide went and just coughed. I was like, you are kidding me. I was like, what?
But it was on your level. It wasn't like away from you. It was actually on your level.
Literally 10, 12 foot in front of me. Literally right in front of me. As if somebody was just clearing the throat. Nothing.
It's dusty down there, isn't it?
Nasty, yeah, it is.
Even for ghosts.
Yeah, nothing nasty or, nothing trying to scare you or, you hear all these silly stories and stuff, things like that, but just literally.
Matter of fact, as if you were there.
You're down there and somebody was just happened to be down there and clearing the throat.
So what are you going to say though when people come up to you and say, well, that was just a pale, I don't believe you? Because they will.
I'm just going to let them think that, because I think it's one of these things where you'll never know unless you experience it for yourself.
I agree with that 100%.
And I don't think you have to prove that to anyone, as long as you know.
No, as long as you know, absolutely. And you feel better for it, now it's done?
Yeah. Oh, yes. I feel bad that I didn't do the last one, but I feel like I got enough.
You got enough of the first room. You say, I'm quitting, that's it, I'm done, I'm cooked. We had to persuade you and keep people with you for the rest of the time.
Yeah, well, like I say, I was expecting just to hear the odd thing, but as soon as I went down there, or as soon as I went into the old bar, things happened straight away, one after another, blatantly in front of my face.
Can I just tell you, the most horrific thing that happened to me tonight was when I sat on a chair that wasn't there and fell on the floor. That wasn't my finest moment. And you're going, did you hear a noise? I went, oh, I heard a noise, all right. That was funny. Hey, but sincere thanks. Thank you for coming to join us. I know it was a slightly faster. Usually we space these out over 4 or 5 hours. So you can imagine how fried you would have been if I had you to myself for another 2 or 3 hours. But we thank you so much for coming along. It's been great, and we hope you've enjoyed it. In a week or so, you'll be saying, "I'm kind of glad I did that."
I'm definitely, yeah. I'm glad now that I did it.
Right.
So I never have to do it ever again.
Will this make you want to look for more?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, once you realise this stuff there, you'll notice the odd thing here and there. You'll start to see because you can't shut the box.
No,
once the box is open,
it's got your mind going now. It's like the curiosity. I was curious first, but now it's.
But this is how it gets. At the very beginning, sometimes I'll go to places where you're papping your pants. Even me, and you think, why do you put yourself through all of that? And then you go, well, I want to do that again, and you're off.
You end up wanting more.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's weird.
Typical man.
Yeah, well.
But that's it from an incredible 150 years of one of the greatest theatres in the country, not just in the north. And next time you come down to the Tyne Theatre and Opera House, have a little extra look. Look a little bit deeper. Just keep your eyes peeled for something moving on the stage you didn't expect, or that little child to appear, or maybe somebody poking your cheek with a fingernail, maybe. You never know what you're going to get. And that's it for the Nightowls for tonight. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for coming with us. Appreciate your time. And from me, Alan Robson, good night. God bless you. And I wish you well.